retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience for your love with a cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration, beat in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab it and take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Take the thing to see. Just like the wind.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to a very special edition Sunday stream on the 7th day. The Lord rested because DJ Storm said, "Don't worry, big guy, I got this." And we are live across 4 different platforms, across 4 different accounts, and we are set and ready for the rewind for AEW WrestleDream, which of course streamed live last night on Thriller TV and other pay-per-view platforms.
I was waiting for you to say the cock. I'm so used to that.
I know. Like, listen, when it's WWE, it's on the cock, but I did report that WWE is actually going to be moving off of Peacock in early 2026. So that's something for everyone's thought. And that right there, unfortunately, I won't be able to say the cock anymore. Peacock, that is. Get your mind out of the gutter, you fucking savages. But this show did not stream on the cock. This show streamed live on Thriller TV, YouTube pay-per-view, and other pay-per-view platforms. And we certainly had a lot to talk about. This was AEW's second annual WrestleDream show from Tacoma. They actually outdid last year's attendance, which was good. And we certainly had a lot of great wrestling on the show. We did get some substance coming out of the show. Obviously, this was not the most intriguing show coming into it, specifically because of a few reasons. Obviously, we know that AEW is extremely disorganized and unstructured. And on top of that, Grand Slam has definitely played a hindrance towards the build towards WrestleDream. And I'm very happy that Grand Slam is now its own pay-per-view going down in February. But this year's Grand Slam was just loaded up with a bunch of dream matches that Tony Khan put out there in a desperate attempt to try and sell tickets. And that actually took away from WrestleDream. The show was pretty much put together within 2 weeks. There was nothing really to go into the show minus the match between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley because of what happened coming out of All In and then coming out of All Out when Jon Moxley suffocated Bryan Danielson with the plastic bag. And then you had Wheeler Yuta in there. He played a factor into what happened after the main event as well. We will be talking about all of that. But overall, we did get a very good show. Not as good as last year. I'm going to throw it out there. Not as good as last year. Couple matches you could say didn't need to be on to here or there. Also would have probably moved one of the segments, maybe the segment with Swerve and MVP. I maybe would have moved that to a Dynamite to make Dynamite feel a little bit more important. But regardless, we did get a lot of substance coming out of the show. And as you could see, I am not alone here. Back for the second time within a week. He was on the rewind for Bad Blood last Sunday, of course, with Raging Girl Gamer. Shout out to Rage. And now he is here to help me go over WrestleDream. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a loyal member of the DJ Storms posse. Very, very good friend of mine. Please welcome back to the channel once again, Hula Grim, how are you doing? I'm very, very happy to have you back. Can you tell us what you thought about the show last night And what do you think we're going to see going forward on AEW TV, if possible? Your mic, bro. Your mic. There you go.
There you go. Sorry
There
about
you
that.
go.
I hearing a little bit of lag, so I'm trying to sync everything up. Thank you for having me back on the show, first and foremost. Good morning to you, sir. WrestleDream, I agree with you. It was not of the caliber that last year's inaugural WrestleDream was. What they did last year would have been pretty hard to top. Anyways, I was anticipating a little bit, I guess, better of a show, but then that implies that last night's show was bad, which it wasn't bad. It's a very strange sort of show to me in many different ways, which I'm sure we'll get into, but it was okay. I think if you're an AEW fan, you probably liked a lot more of last night's show than I personally cared for. But that's just my particular taste in professional wrestling and my issues with what AEW is doing as of late or not doing in this case. But it was a decent show. A lot of hometown faves on the card last night, so that was good. I felt like we had a tale of two different pay-per-views or two different shows almost, because I felt like the beginning started off electric and the crowd was super hot, and then a few matches in, I felt like the crowd, like, for better part of a term, shot their wad like way early. I felt like the crowd lost their energy after like the third or fourth match, maybe. I felt like the match placement was a little bit questionable. But yeah, it was a decent show. Going forward, what is AEW? I mean, I think we have a lot of direction coming out of this show, more so than we had direction coming into the show. So hopefully, AEW desperately needs 2025 to be better than 2024.
I think the biggest problem with the show itself is, like I said, it was pieced together within 2 weeks, and a lot of these matches were just thrown together, even though they were very good. Like Darby Allin, Brody King, that was very good. Hologram, Beast Mortos, obviously, were big hologram advocates, big advocates for the Beast Mortos, especially. That guy's fucking fantastic. But those two matches specifically, really just thrown together. Just to get those guys on the show. Same thing with Briscoe and Jericho. That wasn't even a bad match itself, and I'm glad that Briscoe got the win. I'm glad that Briscoe got a nice moment for himself.
I was so worried about that, bro, especially when I saw the placement of that match.
Worried. I wasn't worried. I knew that Jericho wasn't going to win. But the whole, obviously, we already know the whole ordeal with Jericho's character and the fact that it's not been clicking. He can still go in the ring, but obviously that match, again, thrown together within 2 weeks, simply just to get Briscoe on the show and give him a moment. But regardless, we did get a lot of good wrestling on the show, and we did get a lot of material going into Dynamite. Kyle Fletcher has officially turned heel. Both Adam Cole and MJF are officially back, and we're going to round out that story. Daniel Garcia could very well be the next TNT champion. Konosuke Takeshita finally has a fucking title. That right there was one of the biggest highlights of the show for me. Konosuke Takeshita finally has a championship in his grasp. On top of that, we had
3 heel turns last night.
What?
We had 3 heel turns last night.
Yeah, that's right, we did. And on top of that, Swerve Strickland and MVP, they seem to be going into a program which could lead to the debut of Bobby Lashley. And Jon Moxley officially ends the full-time career of the American Dragon Bryan Danielson as Wheeler Yuta joins up with Moxley's new faction, and it seems as though they're going in a different direction with the World Championship than I initially thought, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to the main event. But there was a part of me that didn't really expect Jon Moxley to win. I actually had Bryan Danielson going over, but looking back on it, maybe it was probably the best decision, because if Moxley lost, how exactly would you rebuild him back up after all these cryptic promos and all these beatdowns and what happened at All Out. So maybe Moxley winning was perhaps the best decision, but it looks to me as though they're pivoting with the World Championship, and Darby Allin is going to be the next top-tier babyface built up to take the championship off of Jon Moxley in due time. When is that? I don't know, but we're going to go over everything. Hope you guys have had a great weekend. Thank you very much for joining me in Hula Grim. Hula Grim. Do you hear me there?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here, bro.
Oh, you said Hooligrim and then it just completely froze, so I have no idea what you said after you first said my name.
Oh, no worries. We're probably having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I actually wanted you to tell everyone where can everyone find you on social media?
Oh, find me on X, formerly Twitter, at WHO_LA_Grim, Hooligrim, spelled out like it sounds, and then as my name on TikTok at Hooligrim, HOOLIGRRIM.
I don't know how you do that shit on TikTok, man. I could never do that shit on TikTok. It's ridiculous. TikTok is evil, bro. It's super evil. But regardless, obviously you can follow me on social media at HistoryMakerDJS. That is at HistoryMakerDJS, both on X and Instagram. You can also add me on my personal Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Please make sure that you like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, all those links are in the description. Do not forget to donate to me, whether it is on the super chats, the super stickers, the super thanks, become a member of the channel, or you could donate to me via Venmo and Cashapp. My Venmo is at DJ Storms, and my Cash App is the DJ Storms. Both of those links are in the description of this very video. On top of that, please make sure, if you haven't already done so, you get your merchandise, whether it be wristbands, t-shirts, or the greatest piece of merch that you will ever own, the DJ Storm Switchblade comb. And of course, Raging Girl Gamer, she has all of the pieces of merch, and just like me, when she's got this comb, she can be so good, just like a hot, fresh slice of pizza right out of the oven. I am absolutely scrumptious. I am tasty. And just like everyone wants a piece of the Stormsmeister, everyone's going to want a piece of you when you got one of these, people. On top of that, obviously, you got to make sure that you like the stream no matter where you're watching it from, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, X, or Rumble. We're building a nice, solid fan base over on Rumble. Share the stream out on all platforms, social media. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and, of course, hit that notification bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you are going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube, because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the absolute best motherfucking time to be on YouTube, because it's the only time that you're going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. And of course, be sure, set your calendar dates, because in less than a week, 6 days, history will be made this Saturday, October 19th, in Elmwood Park, New Jersey, as I team up with East Coast Professional Wrestling to present Battle in the Borough, Elmwood Park's first professional wrestling event in over 5 years, and I look to make a statement with my first show. 7 action-packed matches going down, all in the name to benefit the Elmwood Park Food Pantry. Rick Recon versus Kenny Bengals, one of them. I'll be having a showcase from Titan Championship Wrestling, as Anthony Gangone will defend the Mob Phi American Championship against Marcus Mathers. Alex Ryman will be taking on Bulldog Pittman for the Professional Wrestling Magic World Heavyweight Championship, and the Greek god Papa Don will be taking on the Timeless Crowbar for the Colossal Championship Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. That is all going down this Saturday, and we may just have a very special surprise appearance, because I've been talking to a guy by the name of Will Janowitz from The Sopranos, and he is going to be making the special special appearance this Saturday, in New Jersey area.
Wow.
You better get your tickets. You better get your tickets.
That's incredible.
But I know it's nuts. It's nuts now, isn't it? It's absolutely nuts.
Good for you, bro. I'm super happy for you.
Thank you very much. But listen, we'll be talking about Battle in the Borough a little bit later. But we're talking about WrestleDream right now. We had 4 matches on the pre-show. Really should have been 2 matches because there was only 2 matches worth of substance.
Can we talk about this?
Yes. If you want to say something.
The amount of matches just overall on a card, part of the reason why I just can't, I feel like I've had my overfill of AEW product, and this is part of the reason, because there's so much fucking wrestling that even for someone like me who has an ample amount of free time, it's too much. It's too much to digest. It's a lot of great matches for the sake of pitting 2 people in a match together, which sometimes is fine, but I feel like the amount of wrestling that AEW is cranking out, it's no wonder they have so many injuries all the time. Could we slow some shit down? Could we get rid of some shows? Could we kind of streamline some things a little bit? It just feels kind of like a free-for-all in a lot of ways on these shows.
Pain in the ass is being an incredible pain in the ass right now. Hopefully that doesn't continue going forward. But regardless, when it comes to these matches, it's very, very difficult when you have so many matches and a lot of them really mean much. And that's why I always say they need to get the rankings back. There's so much cross-correlated material between Ring of Honor and AEW as well. The brand split between AEW and Ring of Honor should be very, very obvious. And Tony Khan really needs to get a better sense of structure, because the more that we have meaningless matches that aren't going to mean anything in the long run, with no ranking, the fact that people are getting championship matches out of thin air, and there really isn't much substance going into certain pay-per-views, that's a problem. That really is a problem, because if you were to look at the pre-show, there's no reason why a pre-show needs 4 fucking matches.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's WrestleDream, not Wrestle Kingdom, not WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, WrestleMania shouldn't be 2 nights as
I knew you were. I knew if I said the word WrestleMania, you were gonna say that. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'm just saying, there's 4. I mean, wrestling. WWE doesn't even have 4 matches on their pre-shows. You know what I mean?
They don't even do any matches on their pre-shows.
Yeah, they got away from that, which less is more. We don't need 4 matches in an empty arena with nobody tuning into YouTube. What is that? What good does that do for anybody? The wrestlers are going to get their paycheck regardless. Like,
if you want to do a pre-show, just do 2 matches. 2 matches within a 45-minute period. A 45-minute pre-show with 2 matches, 2 12, 13-minute matches. That would be a much better layout than 4 fucking matches.
Fine. 2 is fine. I'm okay with 2.
Yeah. And that's pretty much,
like, I was looking at the card at some point in midway through the card to figure out. Everybody in the chat I was in is talking about how many matches are left, and according to my calculation, at the moment that I was at in the pay-per-view, there'd been about 5 matches. So with 11 total matches, I'm like, oh, there's 6 more matches. Yet everybody in the chat was like, there's only 3 more matches, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? So apparently, because there were so many matches on the pre-show, I missed all 4 of these matches. Because I was only under the impression, because I was originally told there was only going to be 1 pre-show match, and I forget who they announced that it was, but I didn't really think, okay, there's really that much of a reason for me to tune into the pre-show. So, and then by the time I turned on the pay-per-view, I've missed half the card because 4 matches were on the frickin' pre-shows. Silly. It's just silly.
I know it really is. The first match on the pre-show, that was actually probably the best match on the pre-show. It was Atlantis Jr. and Brian Cage. It was for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship.
And see, we don't need this on a WrestleDream pay-per-view.
No.
Like what? This is a Collision, a Rampage sounding type of match. Like, why is this on the pre-show to WrestleDream?
It wasn't even a bad match, too. It was actually a very good match for the 11 minutes that it went. But if they would have built it up over time. I'll tell you this. If they would have built it up on Ring of Honor TV, and then they would have said, hey, you know what? Let's put this on the pre-show for WrestleDream. I'd be like, all right, fine. But they haven't built it up. It was just thrown together out of nowhere. That's the problem.
Good matches for the sake of having a good match on your pay-per-view isn't what the fan base is after, I don't think. And I think that the ratings and the attendance numbers over the last 365 days, if not longer, have proven that. So I don't really know if this is a case of being ignorant or obstinate. Like, are you just doing this because you don't care and you're going to do things your way, which we've seen before somewhere in professional wrestling? I forget who that was anyway. But or you're ignorant to the fact, which I can't imagine somebody that's got billions of dollars could be ignorant to anything. So
I've said it before. It's just a pride thing with Tony Khan. He's
got
way too much pride, and he wants to do everything on his own. He's not delegating the responsibilities that he needs to delegate. And the fact that, you know, what he's missing is, it's not story. Because I'm not a fucking story whore. I'm a wrestling fan. It's substance. The matches have substance. We don't need 30-minute long-winded promos like we got every single week that Roman Reigns was champion. What we need is actual reasons behind why the matches are taking place. And we didn't get any reason for Atlantis Jr. and Brian Cage. Very good match. Very good match, I will say. And we do have a new Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Atlantis Jr. loses to Brian Cage. Brian Cage wins clean with the drill claw. And not that it really means too much of anything, but look, I'm happy that they threw Brian Cage a bone. Brian Cage is great. At least he has some form of gold, even if it is Ring of Honor gold. So Brian Cage wins probably the best match on the pre-show. And if anything, I wouldn't mind if this was the only match on the pre-show. So Brian Cage wins the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. And then we had Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. Again, like, just a meaningless match. Jay looked a little bit better than the last time that I saw her. Anna Jay looked a little bit better than the last time I saw her. But know what we have. How exactly are we supposed to get fully invested in what we have in a match like this? There's no who's going to be challenging for the championship next. And the thing is that the AEW women's division actually has a lot more going for it than the WWE women's division. But yet, when you have matches like this, it does nothing for anyone. Anna Jay wins pretty much with the gory bomb. Do you even want to comment on this?
I mean, how can I comment on it? I missed it.
Then we had MXM Collection, who have actually been a very good tag team. Not gonna lie, MXM Collection.
Oof. MXM Collection. What kind of names are these? MXM Collection. How are you supposed to say that rolling off the tongue?
Two guys formerly known as the Maximum Male Models. It's Mansoor and Mason Madden.
Well, then just call him Mason, Mansoor, or Madden, Massey, whatever the hell. But MXM Collection is terrible to say. It does not flow off the tongue when you're trying to. When you're saying a match versus two opponents, you can't say MXM Collection. You're just reciting alphabetical letters at this point. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I don't know where the fuck they came up with that name. Don't even.
How did they end up in AEW? Good Lord. What are we doing? What are we doing? We're taking the we're taking the spillage of unwanted WWE mid-card, undercard talent. I mean, we're just scooping them up in droves to do what with?
Well, to be fair,
get them on the WrestleDream pre-show.
They're actually a decent tag team. I'm not gonna lie. I actually prefer them here more so than I prefer them on WWE TV.
But the
That much I will
problem is that they were already on WWE TV first, so it gives a perception of how things are being done in AEW to
Well,
the
listen,
fan base.
if they want to, they could rebuild the tag team division because they're actually a good tag team. This
Oh,
was
if
actually a good
they
tag team.
no,
match.
2025 better be the resurgence of the tag team division, because if it's not, they have huge. They're gonna. They, to me, the tag team division is. You can talk about your day ones and your pillars of AEW and whatever, but for me, the backbone of this whole company was predicated off the tag team division, and
And we actually had some great tag team matches on the show, like MXM Collection and the Acclaim. That was actually a solid tag team match. They worked their asses off. It went about 12 minutes. They worked their asses off on the pre-show.
the
But it
cruise
meant
ship is
nothing.
springing leaks, and if they don't start getting their fingers in some of these holes, they're gonna have a lot bigger problems than they have right now. Like attendance is gonna be the least of their worries if they don't fix some of the
Well,
stuff going
attendance,
on
that's
backstage.
a separate issue. They need to get a fucking marketing team. They need to learn how to properly market. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's almost like they're not even trying.
How
When
can you
it comes
properly
to,
market stuff though when you have so much content,
well,
so many shows
it's
weekly?
simple. It's simple. You pick and choose who you want to market for each specific show. I'm not saying split the rosters, but you could put certain feuds on
You
certain
probably
shows.
should though, don't you think?
Between Ring of Honor and AEW, yes. But
Well,
when it
no, Ring of Honor needs to be its own separate thing away from AEW TV. I'm talking about just the talent that he's got amassed under his rule of thumb right now. He's got plenty of wrestlers for Dynamite to have their own set of roster, for Collision to have their own people, and for Rampage to have their own people. But the problem is people don't have enough time in their week to give a fuck about every single one of these matches.
Well, here's the problem. The main problem that I'm always going to refer back to is, yeah, you have enough people to split the rosters, but how long before we start getting rematches? I mean, look at what's going on SmackDown.
Correct?
We're heading into a seventh match, dude. A seventh match between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes within 2 months on SmackDown. I'm just saying. Listen, I am not going to advocate for a brand split with the AEW roster, but if you put certain feuds on certain shows and then build the show around those certain feuds and angles, like I pitched this as an example. Let's say that there's a rivalry between Christian Cage and Mark Briscoe. Make that exclusive to Dynamite. Or let's say there's a rivalry between Hangman Page and Jay White. Make that exclusive to Collision. And you can have a bunch of people flow from show to show, but you need to make the matches mean something and make sure that you don't overload the shows with 8 fucking matches within 2 hours. And then on top of that, build up challengers for your champions week to week to week. Like, you should have a person to keep track of the rankings. Oh, this guy's got 3, 4, 5 wins. This guy's got 7, 8 wins. Maybe this guy should get a title match. And then after this guy, that guy should get a title match. When someone wins a title, you should have 4 challengers already in place for that champion after he or she wins. That's what I mean. That's called good structure. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. But that right there, that would be a great means of getting. If they even want to make titles exclusive to certain shows, they could do that too.
That might be for the best.
Yeah, if they want to do that, they could do that too. But either way, like, dude, the tag team division, they got the resources, especially with what we saw at WrestleDream. Like the MXM Collection and the Acclaim. That was a very good match for what it was.
Like, I didn't even know Acclaimed was going to be. I saw nothing prior to yesterday's show that Acclaimed was going to be even on the show. So, like I said, when I'm in the middle of last night's match going, I thought we had all these matches. Like, where's the Acclaimed at? This is weird match placement. They're getting placed so high up on the card, and then I'm getting told by everybody, no, they already wrestled, like, the pre-show. You missed it. And I'm like, oh, like, This is terrible.
And then we had another 8-man tag on the pre-show in the main event. It was Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and the Outrunners versus the Premier Athletes in the Dark Order. And the Outrunners actually got the win.
I did see part of this match.
Outrunners got the win. Outrunners could very well be the next tag team champions at this rate.
You know what? When I see the Outrunners it's the exact same vibe as the very first time I laid eyes on FTR when they were what's their names in NXT? I forget what they were called.
Scott Dawson and Dash
The
Wilder.
Revival. The Revival.
Yeah. I know
Yeah,
there's
they just have that throwback old school gimmick, old school style of the way they work in the ring. It's just God, it makes me feel like I'm a new wrestling fan again from back then when I watched them guys.
It's so weird. I feel like it's going to be another Acclaimed situation where they just blow up out of nowhere.
Oh,
It really
that's
is.
what you're talking about. I thought you meant I was thinking something different.
Well,
By
either way,
Acclaimed
I
situation,
understand what you're saying, but yeah, dude. Outside of like the tag team match and then the Ring of Honor World Television Title match, there's no reason why we needed to have 4 matches on the pre-show. That's one thing that we need to get back to, making the pre-show mean something. And I'm always going to reference the Dynasty pre-show because when we went over Dynasty, that was a great fucking pre-show back in April with Dynasty. That pre-show meant something. That pre-show felt important,
that
and
whole
that's
show
what
felt important.
Yeah, the whole show felt important.
That show was fucking awesome, actually.
That was actually like the best show of the year, probably next to All Out and Revolution, and then maybe SummerSlam too.
Yeah, Dynasty was one of
Dynasty was a fucking all-timer, dude.
Yeah.
But the main show, we actually started off hot with the main show. It was Jay White and Hangman Adam Page. Now, this did have some substance going into it, but it wasn't built up enough. I understand where they went with it, and I'd like to hope that this is not a one-and-done deal because you could get some mileage out of these two for the time being. So I'm assuming that we're probably going to get another match going into Full Gear, which hopefully I'll be in attendance for. But this was a very good match. Not necessarily a match of the year candidate, but it didn't need to be. It's very, very hard for Hangman to top those swerve matches because, I mean, the swerve matches, the matches that he had with Brian Cage, the matches that he had with Kenny Omega. Jay White's a different type of vibe. He's still a great wrestler, but a little bit of a different type of taste, if you will, when it comes to the in-ring action. But this went about 16 minutes, and this was a very good match for what it was. This one actually could have swung either way. So I was kind of shocked, but at the same time, I wasn't shocked that Jay White won, because if Hangman won, then that would pretty much be it. And Jay White wouldn't necessarily feel as credible as he should feel. So with Jay White winning, this is a good means of continuing the program and getting another match at Full Gear. And then maybe Jay White can move on and go after Christian afterwards. But now Hangman has something to keep him occupied for the time being. Although I don't know where he goes after we're done with Jay White. But let's go over the match. So Page was flipping off the crowd, as expected, because they're in Swerve's hometown, and the crowd was chanting, "Whose house? Swerve's house." By the way, that's going to follow him around everywhere. And that right there, to me, that's one of the best things about the entire Swerve Hangman feud. So Hangman with a fall-away slam into the corner. Page controlled the pace before White came back with a suplex into the turnbuckle. White with a couple jabs and chops. You know, White may look thin, but he actually chops pretty stiff. I'm not going to lie.
That's from all them years in New Japan, learning strong style.
There you go. Jay White, DDT for a 2, stood Hangman right up on his head. Deadlift German suplex. I love the deadlift German suplex by Jay White. Dragon screw in the ropes. And this is important because this was the thing that inevitably cost Hangman. We had a dragon screw in the ropes. Hangman fought through the pain, hit a pop-up powerbomb on the apron, and then a pop-up powerbomb on the steel steps. Now, this wasn't as bad as the bump that Drew McIntyre took, but either way, I would not want to take a powerbomb on the fucking steel steps. So Jay White then hit a shin breaker to Hangman on the stage. Yes, they went up to the ramp by the stage, and we had a shin breaker. And I'm actually shocked that Hangman didn't legitimately break his leg, or at least the lower portion of it. So White kept the pressure on. Nice Uranage for a 2 count. We had a half-and-half suplex. Page with the dead eye, but the knee gave him trouble. Page went for the buckshot lariat, but the hesitation cost him as Jay White caught him in mid-buckshot lariat, and this was great. Buckshot lariat caught into the Blade Runner. 1, 2, 3, and Jay White wins. A very good opening match. to kick off AEW WrestleDream. It didn't go too long, but it didn't need to. Jay White, now that I think about it, was probably the right winner here because it's his first match back after the short injury break. Now we can get a legit program between the two, potentially going into Full Gear in the Prudential Center. And that was pretty much it. It was a very good opening match. And Hangman at this rate, I mean, he's bulletproof. He could take a loss after what happened at All Out and the fact that he fucking shoved a hypodermic needle into Swerve's cheek. And then he hit Swerve in the head with a steel chair, virtually beating him half to death. I mean, there's really nothing that's going to happen to Hangman that's going to make him feel less than. Hangman's already a made man. After everything that's gone on, especially with the feud with Swerve, Hangman could take a loss. Hangman could take a loss. Jay White wins, and it was a very good opening match. And that was pretty much that. Hooligan, let me toss it over to you here. Jay White gets the win over Hangman.
Yeah, I can't be objective with this match.
Yeah, you're in.
I have too much emotion invested into I feel some type of way about Hangman Adam Page that I feel as though I can't objectively analyze his work.
Do your best.
It's so hard because I literally
you praised him last year. You praised him last year.
Right. There have been times where I've had to he's given me no choice but to praise him. I don't necessarily know if last night for me was one of those nights. I'm not going to.
I mean, he put Jay White over.
It's hard for me with Adam Page because he gives me moments where I enjoy what I see from him in the ring in terms of work, wrestling. But more often than not, there are things about him that I just cannot get past. And for those reasons, it makes it very difficult for me to objectively critique him. Jay White, again, this is hard for me because Jay White was somebody that I was begging to. I was saying I saw the writing on the wall with what was going on with AEW a long time ago. I've been down on AEW for a good year and a half now. And when Jay White was getting ready to make his decision on where he was going, I was saying, please go to WWE. Now, this at the time, I believe Vince had left and come back and hadn't quite left fully yet. And Hunter had taken over, and then I believe it had his power removed again. And so even during that time, I was still saying, please, Jay White, go to WWE. And everybody was giving me shit for it. Why would you want him to go there? And
well, even now, like, I wouldn't tell him to go to WWE because, again,
I
WWE
would.
has its AEW has listen, WWE has its own problem right now because, dude, like, where would there be room for a Jay White? That's the one thing that I'm trying to figure out. Jay White can actually
in actuality and in reality, you're probably correct. In terms of overall potential, I feel like WWE could make Jay White feel like $1 million, and I don't feel like AEW has done him or doing him justice. Now,
well, that's because that's obvious, but that's not necessarily his fault. That's because of the fact that there's just so much to do in Tony Khan, like we've talked about. He doesn't.
I think the way he works,
I
think the way he works, there are many people in WWE that I feel like fans would rather see him wrestle than in AEW, like a AJ Styles, like Shinsuke Nakamura, like a Finn Balor, like he's the same size as a lot of those guys. So I feel like with the WWE product, the production that they bring to the table and stuff, there's just I feel like Jay White he's so good, man. And now, mind you, I'm not a big New Japan guy, so I did not get to see a lot of Jay White's career. I'm just seeing what he's doing since he pretty much came to wrestle in the States. So I've seen stuff online here or there, but I really wasn't a Jay White fan per se until he got to AEW, and I've become a really big fan of his and wish they would do more with him. I don't understand how this match opens the show because I don't really understand the reason for this match.
Well,
I
the match is
thought,
quite simple. The match is simple.
yeah,
Like
but I guess
I know
just
the
from
reason why.
everybody that I watched all year long, I was under the impression that when Adam Page came back, we were getting, which I was actively against. If you go back to, I believe it was a review of yours I was on earlier this year. I believe we talked about Adam Page was announcing that he was taking some time off. And everybody then was saying when he comes back, he's going to resume the feud with Swerve. And I'm like, why would we see a fourth match with these guys? How's this going to benefit either one? I didn't want to see a fourth match, but all year long, I was under the impression that's what we were getting. So
I mean,
when
I'm
we
still
did,
kind of pissed that we didn't get the match at All In because that world title match, it would have been the perfect culmination of the feud. But still, I mean, the match
it's
we
just,
got it all out was
I
awesome.
feel like Adam Page's AEW run's just been very strange. It's like he goes in a direction and then he's got to take time off and then he comes back with no direction and they put him in a random something and then he takes time off. And I can't seem to track Adam Page very well and what's going on with him because it just,
Do you know why this match took place?
no.
This match took place because Adam Page and Jay White, they were in the semifinals of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Adam Page beat Jay White and injured him for 3 months. And now Jay White is back for revenge. That's why it happened. That's why this match took place.
Okay. Thank you
That's
for
why.
jogging my memory. I do remember that now. I just had forgotten because I don't watch I don't watch AEW weekly. I can't I don't have the attention
But
span
yeah,
to sit through it.
the whole ordeal here, the one thing I will say is Jay White's no longer tied down to the trios titles anymore.
Oh, he's
And
not?
no, we're not. We were talking to that. We were talking about that. We were talking about like, listen, if Jay White is still tied down to the trios titles by the fall, then that's a cause for concern. But he's not, and now he's in a singles capacity and he's trying to go after a singles title. He says he needs to take care of Adam Page. Then he's probably going to go after Christian because Christian.
So there's no more Bang Bang Gang.
No, there is a Bang Bang Gang, but Jay White is just a singles competitor now. He's still the leader of the Bang Bang Gang, but he is a singles competitor now.
Okay.
So now he's not a part of the trios division. He's leaving that to Juice and the Guns.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do believe if I'm booking this, I'm probably going to have Jay White win the Continental Classic this year. That's what I'm doing. I'm giving him
He needs to win something. And then this is another thing. It's a very weird random match because Jay White's just back from months of injury.
because of Hangman.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. But Hangman's also back from months of being on hiatus for whatever the reason.
Hangman's been back since July. He's been back for a hefty amount of time now.
Why does it feel like he's just barely been back?
Dude, you do realize that Hangman's been back since July. He lost to Bryan in the finals of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Then he was in Blood and Guts. Then he was in the Casino Gauntlet match at All Out. And then he tried to kill Swerve at All Out in the that steel cage match.
I just don't understand because like I would think that the burning of one's house down.
He burned his house. Yeah, I know.
And then they just show up at the pay-per-view last night and everything's just copacetic, huh? No big deal.
No, they killed each other. They fucking killed each other. They killed each other. They stuck needles in each other's mouths. They slammed each other on cinder block. They hit each other in the head with chairs. They killed each other. I mean, like, dude, if someone burned my house down, if someone broke into my house and then the other person burnt my house down, I would want to fucking kill him.
Yeah, but what? It's just over? Like,
no, it's not over. It's gonna continue, but it's over for now.
So this storyline is like the very same storyline as Drew McIntyre and CM Punk on WWE, basically.
Well, yeah, but more violent.
So these two get to a point where, okay, so it's pretty well established that these two have vitriolic hatred towards one another, and at some point you cannot keep topping the level of violence without permanently injuring somebody or ending their life. So
don't let either of them hear that because they'll do it.
You have to at some point obviously put the kibosh for a time being, like, and then revisit it maybe later down the road because you can't just keep, like, after the Hell in a Cell match, like, what are they going to do after that? kill each other. Like that's the only thing they
Pretty
can
much,
do at this point, right?
Pretty much.
So I understand why they split Swerve and Hangman from that aspect, but then you put him with Jay White, which is like now what they're going to do, put CM Punk with Seth Rollins.
No, CM Punk's going after Gunther in the world title at Survivor Series, man.
Okay, but after that tease we got on Raw, eventually the goal, just
Probably
like it was
WrestleMania,
supposed to
maybe.
be the goal at WrestleMania, we were supposed to get Seth Rollins and CM Punk to begin with, but injury stopped that. We end up getting CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Anyways, Adam Page, Jay White is like CM Punk, Seth Rollins is going to be, which it'll be fine for what it is, but what they did prior was so good. It's like when you get a really sick, great, amazing fucking match, and then the match after it is also a match you've been really wanting to see, but there's no way in hell they can live up to the hype of the match before.
That's why I wouldn't necessarily compare. Like you can't really compare because like then you're ultimately going to end up setting an unreachable.
No, I'm just saying for me, like I don't like this Hangman and Jay White stuff.
You can't necessarily compare it to what Hangman was doing with Swerve because there's so much material in pro wrestling, and if we're comparing everything to the last thing, then the last thing, then the last thing, then ultimately our standards are never going to be reached.
Well, I think that just comes with being a watcher of professional wrestling for a long time. You just get used to what you like, and just there are things about Adam Page that I just don't want Jay White. I just don't care to see Jay White in a feud with Adam Page. And that's just my preference, and I don't really know any other way around it. You know what I mean?
Well, if they're going to get another match, I'm assuming that we're going to get some sort of stipulation match if this continues. And Jay White winning was obviously the right outcome here.
I agree. I mean, I don't think it does Hangman, and that's another reason why I didn't understand the match, because I feel like both guys need to win.
No, they didn't. Hangman's bulletproof, dude. He's a made man. Hangman is and on top of that, they protected him with the hurt knee. Because he was wasting too much time with the hurt knee, and Jay White caught him in the Blade Runner.
What does Adam Page being a made man have to do with him needing a win?
He doesn't need a win. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He doesn't necessarily need a win because he's already a made man. He literally has.
I mean, he's been getting his ass whipped all year.
No, he hasn't. He
Swerve whipped his ass 3 straight times.
He beat Swerve. He beat Swerve at All Out. Then he beat Juice Robinson. Then he beat Jeff Jarrett. Then he beat Jay Lethal. He's been on a win streak for the last month. He's been on a win streak.
Okay, prior to the last couple of weeks, he's been getting his ass whooped up and down all year. Swerve whooped his ass all year long. Whooped his ass.
And now he's back on the right track. So guess what? He could take a loss. He's a former tag team champion. He's a former world champion. He's beaten some of the biggest and the baddest superstars or wrestlers that AEW has. And
I mean, I don't mean it like in terms of he needs a win or he's buried. I don't mean it like that. I get what you're saying, but I just feel like more big time losses stand out to me under him this year than meaningless weekly wins that he's accrued.
Well, that's probably. You think that match at All Out was meaningless? He tried to kill Swerve.
No, I said like his pay-per-view losses stand out more to me than his weekly wins.
Well, yeah, that's probably because you don't watch the weekly TV show.
It's probably just because I just, no matter what, just do not like the guy. I just don't like him. I don't like his.
Either way, look, Hangman, he could take a loss. That was fine, and White winning was the right outcome here. He needed that since it was his first match back.
I agree. White needed a win, though, for sure.
Now we're going to get another match. We're going to get another match. It's going to be
now that he's not injured, I hope that they course correct Jay White. I really do. I hope they need to put him at the top, like in the mix of it. I'm not saying he's got to be a champion or whatever, but he's got to be doing stuff way more important than what they had him doing the last year and a half.
Well, listen, him winning the trios titles was fine for the time being, but now that, he's had his reign and now he's back from injury, now it's time to get him in the singles division and really build him up in that manner. And now I'm hoping, cross my fingers, he's probably going to be the guy to beat Okada, because Takeshita already won the international title, which we'll talk about. So I hope that Jay White wins the Continental Classic. Mariah May. She had a match on the show against Willow Nightingale. It was for the AEW Women's World Championship. This is another thing that we were talking about regarding champions not having a hefty amount of challengers to fight. This was pretty much thrown together within 2 weeks. Exactly what we've been talking about and how things need to be corrected in that aspect. But the match itself, it went about 11 minutes. It was a great match for the 11 minutes that it went. Both of these women brought a hefty amount of intensity. I would actually say it was better than their match in July, back during the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament here. So Willow came out of the gate hot with a pounce. We had a couple of stiff chops. Willow mounted a comeback, big boot. Crowd was loving Willow. Willow has really grown on the crowd, so I'm happy that the crowd is really taking to Willow. German suplex by Mariah. We had a big cannonball in the corner. Willow went for the moonsault, but she missed. Mariah with a diving dropkick and a Mayday, but Willow kicked out. May with a headbutt, Willow with a lariat. Both women are down. We had a Death Valley driver into the corner. 1, 2. Mariah May kicked out again. Mariah May with a middle rope Hurricane Rana, a V-trigger, and a Storm Zero, and Mariah May retains the AEW Women's World Championship. Easily her best match since she won the championship, although we seem to have a problem actually building up some substance for her. I'm hoping that with Mina Shirakawa back, we could actually build something there, and we could get some sort of storyline built in with Mina and Mariah, because Mina doesn't like the new attitude and the new direction that Mariah has taken herself in. I don't know when Toni Storm's coming back. Maybe we see another match between those two. But either way, listen, a great match for the women here. And Mariah May retains, right outcome. We just need some more substance with her. We really do. Because Mariah May, she is way too good after the storyline that we had with herself and Toni Storm, the match we had it all in, and the crowning achievement that she had. She's a new star in the division. She does deserve a lot more than just being a woman that doesn't really have matches that mean anything. But I'm going to toss it over to you.
Again, I don't know what happened on my end yesterday, because I remember watching parts of Hangman and Adam Page. I somehow missed this entire match. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what was going on at the time, but I did not see this match at all. So this was one of the matches that when I was looking on the card midway through the show, I'm thinking, wow, they're putting the Willow match up there pretty high. And then everybody was like, no, you missed it. And I'm like, they already wrestled. And I was like, what? I legit don't know how I missed this match, because I know I didn't watch the pre-show on purpose, but I started at the beginning of the show, so I don't know what happened, but
You were like falling asleep?
probably.
Yeah, probably.
That's usually the case. But Mariah May, yeah, Toni Storm. I felt like AEW last night was lacking aura in terms of the people that really have that charisma that they carry with them, like a Toni Storm was missing. And not to say that Willow and Mariah May don't have charisma, because I think they do, clearly, but certain stars just have a certain level about them that not everybody carries. And Toni Storm, to me, just has that whole vibe around her that just grabs your attention for whatever reason. And I feel like now that they've gotten the belt to Mariah May, it's like they knew how to get the belt to her, but they didn't know what to do once they got to that point.
Exactly. It's the same thing that WWE did with Cody Rhodes. They put the belt on Cody Rhodes even after Roman
It's like,
Reigns.
well, let's just get there and then we'll worry about it once we get there. Well, that doesn't always work well in pro wrestling. You know what I mean? That's not always
Dude,
a good.
Cody Rhodes
good
hasn't had one credible challenger for his world title since he won the championship.
Yeah.
None. And then Mariah May, I mean, the only credible challenger you could claim is Willow, but I mean, she was only on a 2-match winning streak. That's what I mean.
But I thought Willow lost to
Statlander.
Yeah.
Wasn't
that for like a number 1 contenders match, I thought, or something
No,
like that?
that was just a street fight.
Oh.
And then Willow ended up beating Taya Valkyrie on Rampage, and then Willow ended up winning the number 1 contenders fatal 4-way. And that's how she got the title match. That's pretty much it. That's the build towards the match. Great match, but I mean, dude, they need to learn how to build up challengers for their champions X amount of months in advance. Because if you don't, then you're going to have shit like this happen. Just no substance.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of that in AEW.
Yeah, again, with the TNT title too. Like the next match on the show, like with Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata. It's not even like it was a bad match either. It wasn't a bad match, but I mean, holy shit, dude. No substance. That's the whole ordeal. Just the lack of substance. We actually had to wait until that match was over before we had Adam Cole and MJF coming out, and then we got some substance. It's ridiculous. I don't know where Mariah May goes. I'm not sure how long Toni Storm's going to be on this international tour that she's got going on.
But then what, are we going to see them fight again for an extended period of time?
I have no idea, dude. I don't know.
Because we spent the better part of the year watching that.
Dude, I don't know. That's the thing. Everything's a big question.
I mean, Shirakawa comes back and then what? She fights Toni Storm for a year, or
no? She's probably going to fight Mariah at some point. And that's going to be that. Dude, I don't know, dude.
That's what I say. I'm like AEW. I have trouble tracking like.
Then this is the structure problem.
And then there's so many fucking matches, and there's so many AEW shows, and if you don't divert your life to, or devote your life to AEW, is practically like the religion I grew up in at this point. The amount of time you got to spend, like, to, it's crazy. If you don't follow along with everything, you don't understand why half the shit's going on that's going on. And then you come on YouTube and then you shit all over it. So I'm just wondering, like, how is anybody supposed to make sense of shit if they're not watching every second of it? But who can realistically watch every second of this garbage?
I mean, you could watch every second of it. You could watch every second of it. It's just going to be very, very long and hard, especially with the fact that they don't structure the shows well. This is the structure problem that I keep on talking about.
Yeah, it's all too much for my brain, bro.
That's why I said, like, you need to take some matches off the show. You need to only put the shit that means the most on the show, and you need to learn how to build up the proper people.
Did they have it? How long was the build for Mariah May and Willow?
2 weeks.
Okay. So I'm thinking, and this thought's been swirling in my head the whole time we've been talking today. NXT, Black and Gold, and even before it was Black and Gold, when it was 1 hour on the network, somehow in a 1 hour time span, granted they didn't have commercials, so I get that, but in a 1 hour time span, they had feuds that had long-term storyline builds, but they also had matches that weren't, like, not everything, like you said, has to have a long-term 6 month, 8 month, year, 2 year long storyline build behind it. Like, there are things you can do to tease. You can announce a match and then for 2 weeks have some random interaction with these two people that cause them.
Yes.
To, once you get to the match, you understand why these two now are about to fight, right?
Yes.
So with a situation like this with Willow and Mariah May, why don't you put that on the pre-show? One of two pre-show matches. It had a
Yes.
quick 2-week
Yeah,
story
that's how you
build.
make the pre-show mean
It
something.
makes sense why they're fighting, but it's not super important. It's not, this big, I don't know. Like that could have been a match that could have been easily on the pre-show or whatever.
It's ridiculous. This match really should have been on the
We don't need
pre-show.
11
We're
we
way
don't
too
need 11
short.
matches on every card. We just
I
really
know.
don't.
Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata. This was for the TNT Championship. Shibata dominated most of this match. Perry, he got the sneaky victory because, that's pretty much what he's all about. He's a sneaky, conniving prick. Dude, I don't understand how you have Jack Perry in this position, right? And the guy is worth so much more than these meaningless matches, and you're not even allowing him to go out there with meaningful people. Dude, look at how many people they could have built up over the course of X amount of weeks to go and fight Jack Perry. You could have built up a guy like Mark Briscoe. Could have built up guys like could have built up Shibata if you had him on TV consistently. You could have built up guys like a Jay Lethal. You could have built up guys like, Scorpio Sky if you wanted to. You could build up all of these potential individuals to go and fight your mid-card champions. And what the fuck are you? You could have built up Orange Cassidy if you wanted to. And you're not allowing any of these guys to actually go out there in meaningful 15, 16, 17-minute matches and showcase what they can actually do. Why is it that Jack Perry's one match with Bryan Danielson, that was the only match where Jack Perry was actually allowed to go out there and just wrestle? Seriously, he had better matches under the Jungle Boy persona. He was allowed to wrestle more when he was Jungle Boy, more so than he's the scapegoat. And I understand he's a heel, but I mean, come on. Very, very, very bland match. The main thing that happened was the fact that we got a great ending with Daniel Garcia coming out. He's probably going to be the next TNT champion, which is great. Then MJF came out. He mistakenly called Tacoma Seattle because he's a prick. And then he went to hit Daniel Garcia with the Dynamite Diamond Ring before Adam Cole came out. He lives. Adam Cole is alive. Adam Cole.
Barely.
He's able to walk. Adam Cole is able to walk. So now it looks like that's going to be a match.
You look like a corpse.
That's going to be a match at Full Gear. So it looks like now we got ourselves another program going into Full Gear. So it looks like the program is going to be MJF, Adam Cole. It's going to be Jay White Hangman with some sort of stipulation match. And then it's going to be Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry for the TNT Championship, hopefully with Daniel Garcia winning that championship. And then maybe we get a singles match between Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, or maybe Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Depends on where they want to go. But finally, we get some closure to the story between Adam Cole and MJF. And Adam Cole and MJF being on the show full-time, that is a good thing. No one should be looking at that as a bad thing. That is needed. That is absolutely needed. So hopefully we will see the proper conclusion to that story. And then also Daniel Garcia will be the new TNT champion by the end of Full Gear. But again, not a bad match between Shibata and Perry. But if you want to talk about forgettable, man, like you look up forgettable in the dictionary, you will see a picture of this match. I have no idea. Like, just let him fucking wrestle. Build up challengers and let fucking Jack Perry wrestle. That's all I'm asking for.
Put this match on Rampage or Collision and get these two charisma vacuums off of the TV. Like, Jack Perry is zero aura. Say what you want about his in-ring work. You can think he's a great wrestler and all this and that. You're correct about he had way better matches as the Jungle Boy character.
They let him wrestle.
He's the type of wrestler that needs guys with charisma and aura around him to feel like he also does, because on his own he has zero. You could walk into a room and walk right past him and not look twice, and I don't get no kind of
Well, let's be honest. The only person that has aura nowadays is Roman Reigns. Let's be real. It's such an overused term, to be fair. I mean, like who the fuck gives? I don't give a fuck about aura. Just fucking wrestle.
Well, I use it in terms of like that's just like the current word I use for charisma. Like there's just some people just have that head turning capability where they walk into a room or you walk into a room and you notice them right away.
Yeah.
And you can be the greatest wrestler in the world, but if you don't have that factor that draws people's attention to you without having to say anything or do anything, then you're just going to be known as a good talent. And that's, I don't know. This is another match that could have been on the pre-show or a Rampage or a Collision. We didn't need this on WrestleDream. What was the purpose of this?
How are we supposed to care when it was put together in 2 weeks and they didn't let him go? How are we supposed to care?
Like, why are we? Is this just because Tony Khan has to fulfill a commitment to New Japan and get some of their talent on the card? Like,
I got no problem with either of these guys on the show, but make it mean something. That's all.
That's what I mean. This is done just as a match. Like I said, this could have been a Dynamite, a Rampage, a Collision. Like this. Why was this on? Like the pay-per-views are to continue like feuds, beefs, or to end feuds, beefs. This is just a match. Like, because of fuck. And and AEW is every bit as guilty as WWE of these egregious ticket prices, at least when they first go on sale. So I mean, what are we paying?
I wouldn't say that AEW is as bad as WWE when it comes. Dude, Rage paid $800 for a fucking ticket. And that wasn't even a front row ticket.
I was going to go to WrestleDream last year, and Section 100 was almost $500.
Now, I mean, 500 is a hell of a lot better than 800.
But still, I just mean, what are we paying for here? Like, that's in this economy, that's a lot of money to just get a match that has no meaning behind it whatsoever.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. But that was pretty much that. I think it's time that, we fulfill what I stated that they needed to do. I called it when Jack Perry won the TNT title. Daniel Garcia was the guy to take it off of him. Now he should. He should absolutely do it. No joke. Unless you got someone else. I mean, like, I'm sticking with Garcia.
And then are we talking about MJF, Adam Cole, or are we going right to the next match?
I mean, do you want to talk about MJF and Adam Cole? Because
it pissed me off, to be honest. It really did. I didn't like it at all.
For what reason?
Because of the last time we saw them, MJF was face, Adam Cole was heel, and if I remember correctly, MJF ended their feud.
No, he didn't. He just gave Adam Cole a brain buster, and we haven't seen him since Double or Nothing. That wasn't the end of a feud.
I mean, he cut that promo and pretty much said he's moving on. Like,
I know, and Adam Cole's not going to allow that, apparently.
Where is the Undisputed Kingdom? Why is like Adam? Why is Adam Cole a babyface now?
Beats fucking me. Nick Teodoro, what a fucking retard you are. Daniel Garcia is not a top tier talent. Fuck out of here. Oh my god.
I didn't get to finish.
No, don't worry. I took care of the fucker. Continue. Gruss, you're another one. Fuck you. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Hooligran. Continue.
Oh, it's funny. I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. There's just no rhyme or reason sometimes to why AEW they decide on a whim that what they're doing is not working, and let's just immediately pivot and go into another direction without any sense made of it, or I don't know. Adam Cole comes back, like, he did not look well. When MJF came back, he looked more shredded, more ripped. Adam Cole looks like he still has the flu. He looks like he hasn't seen sun in about 800 days.
I mean, I don't give a shit. I mean, as long as he can still wrestle like a pro.
He does not even remotely look like a professional wrestler anymore to me. He came out just looking as like some guy, and I'm like, why are we doing this again? Like, how many months later? Like, I thought
now we can get the proper conclusion, hopefully.
Yeah, who cares?
But it looks like Adam Cole is he's a baby face for now, and MJF, he's a heel. That's probably the best roles going forward. The whole injuries, dude, the injuries fucked everything up. To be honest, dude, those injuries,
Yeah, he
fucked everything up.
He lost a lot of weight, and he now looks like somebody who streams video games and from their mother's basement. That's what he looks like to me.
Hopefully he'll showcase that he can still go in the ring. Moving on to the next match here. This was easily one of the matches of the show. Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Konosuke Takeshita, AEW International Championship. And this was fucking excellent. And if this doesn't make your top 10, I don't know what will. But holy shit, man. Will Ospreay is about to occupy at least 5 or 6 out of the top 10 matches for everyone's list. It's unbelievable what this fucking guy can do. And props to Ricochet and Takeshita too. So this was fucking nuts, the whole entire thing. Ricochet with a handspring plancha, Takeshita caught him. Ospreay with the handspring plancha, and he took out both men. Ricochet with a neckbreaker DDT combo and a standing shooting star. Handspring double Pele kick by Ospreay. Death Valley driver to Ospreay on the apron. Ricochet with a Meteora on Takeshita on the apron. Spanish fly by Ospreay. Backslide driver by Ricochet. Styles clash by Ospreay. Takeshita saved it. Deadlift German suplex by Takeshita and a big lariat. Handspring. Takeshita caught Ricochet in a beautiful Blue Thunder Bomb. And by the way, Takeshita has a better Blue Thunder Bomb than Sami Zayn. Takeshita, couple of big forearms. Dude, I would not want to get hit by one of Takeshita's forearms. We talk about Gunther's chops. What about Takeshita's forearms?
There was many a move I saw yesterday that I wouldn't be willing to take from Takeshita, to be honest with you.
Dude, the guy is
if you see an Asian man and he's that cut and he's that size, you should automatically know to want nothing to do with that whatsoever in a physical way at all. You're going to lose. You should just know that just by looking at him. Just look at him. You know you're going to lose.
Dude, he's a fucking maniac.
The guy isn't walking and be like, no, and I turn right around and walk the fuck away.
And he wasn't done yet. So this was fucking nuts here. We had a tornado kick and an enziguri by Ospreay. Roll through into the clothesline. Ospreay landed on his feet. Oz cutter. Ricochet with a springboard 450. Just out of nowhere. Just move for move for move. Incredible sequence. Ospreay kicked out. Great near fall. The crowd was chanting "Fight Forever." Of course they were. We had a Doomsday device. Doomsday device. Ricochet landed on his feet. German suplexes by Takeshita. Poison Rana by Ospreay. Poison Rana by Ricochet. Ricochet held Ospreay and Takeshita, the machine that he is. He's the fucking Japanese Terminator. Double German suplex. All 3 men are down. Unbelievable.
What did you think? What do you think about? Because like the no selling of moves is being met with heavy criticism, right? And like,
I mean, all I listen to is the crowd, dude. Listen to the crowd. If the crowd's popping, then it works.
Yeah, but watching it live and watching it at home is different, though. You know what I'm saying?
I watched it at home, and I was popping the same exact way.
So no selling 2 Poison Ranas doesn't bother you?
No, I'm not saying.
Like you don't feel like in wrestling there's a certain moves that shouldn't be no sold. Like I feel like a Poison Rana, and it always bothered me about the Canadian Destroyer too. I feel like when you do a move that literally has 2 wrestlers flipping and their momentum carries one to spike the other one on top of their head after a full-fledged frontal flip, to just bounce right up from that is just kind of hokey, bro, because we're trying to suspend our disbelief here, right? So
listen, I'm not going to tell you it should be done in every match, because then it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I believe it's like pretty much the same effect that we talked about with Jinder Mahal, and the Singh brothers got involved in every single one of his matches. If we see that every single match that we see Will Ospreay and Ricochet in, then that's a cause for concern.
But I feel like there's a lot of no selling in all of Ospreay's and Ricochet's matches that they have. They no sell a lot. And I'm not saying that it was Ospreay no selling this time. I just feel like every time there's an Ospreay match, somebody does a fair share of no selling, and a lot of times it is Will Ospreay, and sometimes it's
well, sometimes he pops up, gets a move, and then he goes dead. So I wouldn't necessarily call that no selling. It's like a burst of energy, and then he's dead again.
Yeah, but when you get spiked with a poison rana, it's kind of like, come on, bro. Like that's gonna do some mega damage. Like you got to sell that.
I mean, I didn't necessarily have like the biggest issue with it because in the end, both men, everyone went down after the big spot there. So I wasn't necessarily, kicking pillows over it.
They're like
After
cats.
what?
They're like cats. They somehow them two guys, Osprey and Ricochet, know. Like, they can land on their backs and, sell a move, but they also know how to like over rotate and land on their feet and counter moves unlike anybody I've seen. It's crazy.
The
They
match
just
isn't even
always know
over
how to
yet.
land on their feet.
The
Yeah.
match isn't even over yet.
Go ahead.
So afterwards, we had Ricochet up top, Hurricane Rana by Osprey on Ricochet. Takeshita caught him. Ricochet rolled through. Standing shooting star by Ricochet off the top. The knee by Takeshita. Both men kicked out of Takeshita's cover. Takeshita with the cradle tombstone pile driver off of the apron through the table on Ricochet. Now, listen, a table bump's a table bump. But I wouldn't want to be taking a fucking cradle tombstone and you get folded up. Like, I don't want to, mimic JR here, but you want to talk about folded up like an accordion. Oh, Ricochet, man.
I thought at that angle, on initial impact, I thought Ricochet landed wrong on his head. I really did, and I'm like, at some point, these sweaty
Dude.
guys, like, man, sometimes AEW just does these spots where I just kind of just cringe, and I'm like, do we, like, that's great and everything, but do we need to do it like that? Like, you could have done a table spot a number of other ways. Like, you had to do this move off of the apron in that fashion. Like, that was a wild spot to me. That looked absolutely like it sucked for both of those guys to be involved.
So then afterwards, we had a hidden blade. Takeshita kicked out at 1. Osprey hit a second hidden blade. Callis pulled the ref out. Osprey went for the Tiger Driver on Don Callis. I'm sure that would have popped Tacoma big time. But Kyle Fletcher swooped in, hit Osprey in the head with the screwdriver, and then delivered the V-trigger, did Takeshita. So Takeshita took advantage of Osprey as he was down after he got hit in the head with the screwdriver by Fletcher. And then we saw the V-trigger. The ref was thrown back into the ring. We had 1, we had 2, and we had 3. And finally, after all these years, Konosuke Takeshita is a champion in AEW. Well overdue. Extremely well-deserved. Konosuke Takeshita earned it. The only issue is obvious, the fact that Will Ospreay, he had that little blip with MJF. Now that program with MJF was awesome. Don't get me wrong. The program with MJF was great. But the fucking flip-flopping of the title, I'm sorry. That really left a sour taste in my mouth there. 2 great matches, though. 2 great matches with MJF and Will Ospreay. But, man, dude, that fucking flip-flop of the title there, that really, really pissed me off. But regardless, I mean, this was the right move here. We needed to give it to Takeshita. Takeshita was the right guy to do it. And now we do have something going into Wednesday. Instead of Fletcher going with Ospreay, now Fletcher is with Don Callis through and through. And afterwards, he even hit a Tiger Driver on Ospreay. Looks like we're going to get ourselves Kyle Fletcher potentially moving up the ladder if they want to. And this is going to be a great thing for both men because it gives Ospreay something to do in the meantime, because Ospreay doesn't need to be the world champion now. Ospreay doesn't need to be a champion, period. Ospreay is perhaps the wrestler of the year. He's already a made man. So now we got ourselves something intriguing with the history between Fletcher and Ospreay. Now we're going to see what they can really do to take things to the next level with these 2 individuals, and we're really going to start to get into some personal material, which I really, really love. So the match itself, fantastic match, right outcome, and Kyle Fletcher, he ends up turning heel on his brother, the man that pretty much took him under his wing, that being Will Ospreay. Let's see where this goes. This certainly has a lot of potential in it. Let me throw it back over to you. What are your thoughts on this match and the outcome, and where are we going as we head into Dynamite on Wednesday?
I feel like a match like this is hard to talk about, it's hard to describe because it's one of them ones that you just got to go watch. Like I feel like this was probably the best match on the whole show.
Yeah. Maybe the main event too, but
Maybe the main event too, but for other reasons in different ways. In terms of, I was not really a big fan of them rushing matches, like the interactions with Osprey and Ricochet. As soon as Ricochet, pretty much comes in, they, I would have done it differently. I would have held off on throwing them two in the mix right away. But all that aside, yesterday, adding Takeshita to the mix and his style of wrestling really meshed well with, because obviously Osprey and Ricochet are pretty much the same wrestler in the ring. They're the high flyers, the flippy divey counter, land on your feet, acrobatic, crazy stuff. And we've seen what they can do. I didn't understand why, and maybe it was prior obligations, contracts that he had been under, but I was saying years ago that Will Ospreay, he should have been one of the pillars of AEW from day one. I don't know why he wasn't. But Takeshita is he's something. He's really something.
now he's the champion, man.
Yeah,
Finally.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that outcome. I think a lot of people were. I don't know how many people feel about that. I'm sure a lot of people were bummed that Ricochet didn't get it, or it doesn't make sense for Ricochet to come in and get it from Osprey right away. And like you said, Osprey's a made man. He doesn't need a title, so there's other directions they can go by switching the title over to Takeshita. And it'll be good to see a program with Kyle Fletcher and Osprey. I think those guys have good chemistry. We've seen him in the ring before, and Kyle Fletcher is like Takeshita in the sense that they're very stiff workers. I mean, they're gonna beat on little Will Ospreay's body, and he'll sell it and do crazy acrobatic shit around him, and it'll all look like a 7-star Meltzer match.
So now with what we have here, where do each of these three guys go? I mean, like with Osprey, it's pretty easy. I mean, he's going to be dealing with Fletcher. Takeshita, I'm not sure where he's going to go, but I'd like to hope that they have a long title reign for him.
Weren't they teasing Takeshita and Okada and something?
Yeah, but then they pivoted. They pivoted to Takeshita winning the international title.
What's our next pay-per-view?
Full Gear.
And that's in November?
Mm-hmm. For AEW, yes.
I'm just trying to think if they want to do because WWE's doing the Saudi show, right? Champion versus champion.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if AEW's going that route.
I hope not.
Doing a champion versus champion match at their next show.
We literally just saw that at All Out between Jack Perry and Bryan Danielson, and then we saw that back at Crown Jewel with Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul. I don't understand why. There's no need for that unless you have a legit plan to put two titles on one guy, which we don't need.
And Takeshita's Blue Thunder Bomb is amazing. It comes off as very much more impactful than Sami Zayn's. Obviously, because Takeshita is a larger, taller guy. But
not only that, the fucking spin, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he gets some velocity on his spin. He don't fuck around with that Blue Thunder Bomb. I wish they would let that move be used to pin somebody, though, man. Come on, they just won't let nobody get pinned off a Blue Thunder Bomb.
Well, it happened once. It happened once with Sami Zayn. It happened back in 2018 with Sami Zayn when he pinned AJ Styles off a Blue Thunder Bomb. And AJ Styles was the WWE champion at that time. Mm. Yes, I know all this shit. I do. I know all this shit. But yeah, dude, clear as day. That was the match of the night for me, at least. It may very well make the top 10. unless Will Ospreay does something even more crazy. We'll have to wait and see there. But moving on from there, we actually had a segment with Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. And normally I would say these segments should be on
falls off.
What?
For me, this is where I felt like I noticed a huge dip in crowd interaction.
Well, that they were trying to hear what the promo was saying, but either way, normally I would say, yeah, I would probably put this on Dynamite or Collision, but in a weird way, it kind of gave people a chance to breathe a bit. Now, I don't think that this should be a consistent thing, but for this show alone, it wasn't necessarily.
Oh, yeah, because up to this point, I mean, the show was kind of like the crowd was kind of balls to the wall. They were pretty active for the entire time leading up until after the triple threat match. And then it was like, ooh, I started seeing comments all over social media like, oh, I'm drained. Oh, I'm spent. Like, wow, people are drained that quickly, huh? I was surprised to see comments that early on in the show.
Yeah, well, that was probably just the anti-AEW bots. I don't necessarily believe that those people have any legitimate objectivity about them. They're just looking for engagements, which is a lot of the IWC, to be fair. Not everyone can be as intelligent as I am, but that's a different story.
What do they say? What do they see about content creators and streamers? They're just professional attention seekers.
Well, most of them are. Most of them are. That I will say. I'm not going to be naming names, but most of them are. Most of them are. There are very.
You don't want to go on the record?
No. I mean, like, I could talk about all these fucking people for God knows how long, but I know that this is what they want. Like that's the one thing you want to. And before we get into the whole Nana and Swerve and MVP thing, do you want to know what really pisses me off about the IWC? It's like the people. They know that a lot of these content creators, like they're just looking for engagements, but yet the people still talk about them anyway. Like you're pretty much feeding into them. If you really want to make a difference, just act like they don't exist. That's what I don't understand. It's like, yeah, you're calling out the stupidity of one person, but you're showing yourself to be an idiot as well for giving them what they want. It's so fucking stupid. That's why I don't talk about anyone. That's why I don't. And if I do, it's maybe like once, maybe twice a year, I mention someone by name, but I don't give people the satisfaction of talking about them every week. Why would I?
I personally think that the people that talk about other people on a weekly basis, especially if they talk about them like they don't like them and they're not friends with them, I think they're all in cahoots with each other behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think they're all buddies. I think it's all a big work.
Absolutely. And that's why I hate the fucking IWC, because no one is objective here and no one operates with an intelligent mentality, or at least not like you and me. We're two different individuals, but at least we know that, when it comes down to it, we look at things from an objective standpoint rather than, trying to gain engagements. Like we're not doing what we do here to try and get engagements. We're doing what we're doing here because, we're trying to be legit here. We're trying to be credible.
Yeah, I don't just see what I see and take it for face value and just accept it like a lot of the time, like a lot of people seem to do in the community. And it's like if they see it, then it's like, oh, it's great. No, well, a lot of it's not. And that goes for, both sides. I'm not just anti AEW. I like what I like, and when I see something that I feel is garbage, then I'm going to say that I feel like it's garbage. You don't have to agree. It's fine.
So the Prince Nana, Swerve, MVP Shelton Benjamin segment. Swerve, he came out. He got a nice reaction in his hometown. He did say he was medically cleared, so he's back to competing. He says, I wanted to come out here to address my people. Wanted to tell you about my past, present, and future. MVP and Shelton Benjamin then came out, and he says, I wanted to discuss the future of Swerve Strickland. See, I figured you must be in deep contemplation about the decisions that you have to make regarding your future. We have history, and I believed in you before you believed in yourself. But your career seems to be floundering. I took former champs and I reminded them of the things that made them become great. So let's talk some business. So Swerve talked about MVP's match with him back at Defy, and he says, I watched you ascend a lot of stars into the superstardom realm. Benjamin, you did a lot for me, and you paved the way for a lot of wrestlers to do what we do. Nana, the stuff he's been saying, it's not wrong, and the last couple months have been pretty hard on us. I lost the main event at All Out. I lost my child at home, and I lost my championship all under your watch. But then again, I wouldn't have these things if it wasn't for you. But P, I like having power, said Swerve. And with you guys backing me up, my God, the power that I could have. Nah, listen, there's a lot of things that irk me about you. You still sell weed to high school kids.
That
I
shit
you
pops me.
sometimes when we're supposed to go out. But above all else, your family. And I don't turn my back on family for anyone. So as far as your business offer is concerned, you can take your cards and shove it up your ass because I am not interested, said Swerve. Benjamin said, you don't get it. You see, you're either with us or you're against us. We weren't asking you. We were telling you. So we got a little shoving match, and the refs had to come out to separate them. This was actually very well done. I'm not going to lie. This was actually very well done. So now, based on everything that we saw, it looks like the debut of Bobby Lashley is going to be coming sooner rather than later. And if I was Swerve, I would probably recruit Private Party to help him. I mean, that would be a brilliant, brilliant addition to Swerve's act for the time being, especially since the Mogul Embassy is no more. I'm not sure what else it could potentially lead to, but I mean, so far, I mean, they got something decent going. Do you have anything to add there? I mean, it wasn't. Crowd popped for it because they love Swerve and Nana together.
Yeah, especially since Swerve is from Tacoma.
No, obviously, but I mean, you're always going to get a big pop in your hometown. But still, I mean, that this is something that a lot of people would definitely get behind. At least now, here's the thing: we got substance coming out of the show. We got no substance coming in. Now up until this point, Adam Cole's back. MJF is back. Kyle Fletcher turned heel. Then we got this segment. Now we got substance going into Dynamite.
I feel like this is not what I want to see Swerve involved in. I literally don't give a single fuck about MVP and Shelton Benjamin and AEW. I don't know. You could bring in Bobby Lashley. Like, this is I don't understand why we take people from one company, put them in another company, and stick them in the same exact fucking gimmick and just call the gimmick something different. Why can't we just give them
because it worked? The gimmick
completely
worked.
Fucking different than what the last time and we saw them in the last company we saw them working in. Like, I want to see something new, something fresh. I don't care about
we're gonna get Hobbs involved.
9-year-old fucking MVP and 55-year-old Shelton Benjamin and 53-year-old Bobby Lashley. I do not care.
Bobby Lashley's not 53 years old.
He's close.
Well, either way, I mean, he still looks great for 50.
That was just me guesstimating ages, but I know that those three men are in their 50s.
Either way, I mean, this is definitely something that could be of good substance.
You had a good idea, like putting like Private Party with Swerve or Prince Nana, even making them a faction. That would be hugely beneficial to Private Party. Like, these guys got a match.
And you got 3-on-3.
And it was like, oh, Private Party's got a fucking pay-per-view match? Like, why?
Why what?
It's just random to see Private Party out of nowhere in 2024 on a end of the year pay-per-view match. Like, oh shit, I forgot about these guys.
I'm gonna be quite honest with you, dude. That match had the wrong outcome. I'm not even bullshitting you. But listen, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But that's what I mean. It was just like that's another case of just the show being
Prince Nana is Teddy Long with swag.
Oh my god, yeah. Now that I think about it, it's kind of true.
It's really just a cooler version of the holla holla playa gimmick, but the crowd loves him.
Mac Militant,
and he's way less cringe. Like, he's not cringe like Teddy Long back in the day. Like, we all love it now, and it's kind of nostalgic. But back then, like, there would be times where Teddy Long would be funny, but a lot of the times it was like it was cringy.
Yeah.
And Prince Nana is like anti-cringe. I love him.
Oh, Prince Nana's great. It's unbelievable. He's got a coffee brand now.
But yeah, I want to just see Swerve in something. I don't know, man. And it's just like, I don't even want to say this live on air because of what it's going to sound like.
Who
But
gives a shit?
I just fucking like it's. I'm not trying to make it a racial thing, but it's like every time I feel like African American wrestlers show up in a company, they automatically just get put with other African American wrestlers, and I don't. It's just dumb to me, and it further kind of fuels what's going on politically in the landscape of this country. I feel like it's just a micro. It like highlights it a little bit, in my opinion, And it's like, why do we have to do that?
Well, if the gimmick works, then it works. But
No, I'm not talking about the gimmick. I'm just saying, like, putting MVP and Shelton Benjamin with Swerve. Like, why?
I mean, the program is with it. Like the whole program is pretty much MVP trying to remind Swerve of who he is, and Swerve saying, "Listen, I'm not turning my back on Nana for anyone," because they have history in Defy. So, like, it's not like they're just pairing them for the sake of it.
Who casually knows that enough to give a fuck? Nobody knows
now
that.
They're bringing it to TV. That's what I'm telling you. They're bringing it to TV. They're telling you that the segment told you the history between them, and they laid the groundwork for the program going forward, pretty much is what I'm saying.
Fair point.
Listen, it's just the start of something. We're going to have to see what else comes of it.
I mean, I'm assuming what comes of it is Bobby Lashley enters the picture at some point here in the next week or two.
I hope Hobbs comes back too. He would be great there.
See, and that's another thing. It's like,
that's a great fucking faction.
Why aren't we doing something with Hobbs? Like,
because he's injured right now.
How many years has the guy been injured for?
He's been injured since April.
I swear that guy's been injured the whole time he's been in AEW. I swear.
No, he's been injured since April. He tore his ACL, I think.
Well, then they weren't showing him very often because I swear he was injured a couple years ago as well and was off TV for a really long time. Came back around the time CM Punk was in the company, and then what happened? Like, they didn't really do anything with him.
No, you didn't. Your favorite guy, Hologram, he fought the Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This actually started off very slow, but it turned into a very good match by the end of it. This is another thing that I mean, like another match that was pieced together within a couple of days. Great, very good match, still, very good match. But again, pieced together way too quickly. And another reason why we need rankings, Hologram is 15-0. He's 15-0. Where's his fucking title match?
Is he 15-1 based off of the one pinfall he took in that match yesterday?
No, because that was only...
It all counts to the overall aspect of the finality of that match, right?
Yeah, it added to the overall aspect because he won 2-1.
There was a discussion last night on YouTube about that.
It's a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Yeah. It's like he took a pinfall, but he's still undefeated. That's kind of an oxymoron, but okay.
But again, dude, he's 15-0. Where's his fucking title match?
It's Hollowberg.
Fucking hell, man. Fucking
Goldogram.
He's great, though.
Goldogram.
He's great, though. I'll tell you that. Beast Mortos is awesome, too. I mean, he's a perfect size to do what he does. They got the crowd into it down the home stretch here. A lot of great spots. Hologram with the moonsaults and the tijeras and the 450s. Mortos, his offense is incredibly intense. I love the military press off the top rope that Mortos does.
That was a scary moment for me. I held my breath, and I was like, another one when the two guys that have been working and they're all sweaty and one's trying to grip the other one. I'm like, if that guy
that's
slips,
a consistent move that he
if
does.
that guy, and I'm like, if he jumps and with that guy, if he slips, like this has potential for absolute catastrophe. And
at least do it from the middle rope. It's easier.
I was like, thank you God, this went over okay. Like, whew.
It's good because Hologram's small, so Mortos can fling him around.
Yeah.
By the way, that tope twisting plancha that Mortos does, that's fucking phenomenal, man. I don't know how he does that, but man, that's fucking phenomenal. We had Hologram with a tightrope swanton bomb off the top to the floor. We had Hologram. He was caught with the avalanche military press, but he kicked out. Hologram kicked out of a big lariat. Top rope Hurricane Rana and a crucifix bomb again. The roll up. 1, 2. Mortos kicks out. And then Hologram, he wins it with the portal bomb, which is a torture rack power bomb. Which, I'll tell you this. He may be small, but he can get him up there. Hologram was able to get him up there, so I'll give him credit there. Hologram's probably like 170 pounds. He got a guy that was 50 pounds heavier than him up on his shoulders. Hologram wins a very good match, but again, pieced together in 4 days, 5 days. Where's the substance and where's the structure with a guy that's 15-0 and we get no championship match for Hologram? I mean, at least fucking put him in there with Takeshita and let them go.
Nothing makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because he's undefeated.
And nothing that I'm saying nothing that the AEW is really doing in terms of booking makes a whole lot of sense to me.
It's just there. It was just kind of.
This was a great match. Like I think it was a Ring of Honor show that I did with you where I first saw Beast Mortos, but he was under a different name.
Black Taurus. He
was Black Taurus and he fought Keith Lee, didn't he? Or not Keith Lee? Sorry. I'm sorry?
He fought Vikingo.
Oh, Vikingo. That's right. Yeah. He's awesome, right? And I felt like yesterday I'm watching the match, and I'm pretty sure at some point I said I liked this match better than the triple threat match because it was easier for me to pay attention to two guys of similar style going at it without the addition of the third Takeshita with a different style. Kind of sometimes I felt like that match kind of didn't flow so smooth. And then there's so many luchadors with masks in AEW. I'm like, we just saw Ospreay, even though it was a triple threat, we still just saw Ospreay and Ricochet. And this is very similar to watching the same type of fucking match, only now we're later down the card and it's not for anything. So what the fuck are we doing? And why is this match even on the show? And you, like you said, Hologram is 15-0, but there's nothing on the line. I don't know. It's a great match. I really enjoyed that match. I thought it was great. I think Hologram is actually really good. And I know he's getting a lot of shit because Tony Khan seems to be rocket shipping him out of the galaxy to boldly go where no man has gone before in pro wrestling. But he's really good. I just don't know why he's getting this major Goldberg style type of push over everybody in the company. I don't.
And it's not. The crazy thing is that is it going to result in anything? Will it?
I mean, Tony Khan's acting like this is like the second coming of Rey Mysterio Jr. on Monday Nitro.
I mean, granted, he's fucking great. He's doing some crazy shit, but you do need.
Yeah, he's very good. I really like the hologram matches. All the ones, everything I've seen of him so far in AEW, I'm like, I'm good on this guy. And like when I watch other content creators, they're not so high on him, which is fine. That's neither here nor there. I just happen to really enjoy hologram, not just because, his name is like 2 letters away from being my name, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, again, dude, it's just that you gotta build shit in advance. Like you're not going to get people to care about something within a 5-day period. Now, granted, Hologram and Beast Mortos are great and they can overcome anything, like because they're
I see, like 2-3 weeks ago, advertise on Dynamite coming up at WrestleDream. This match has been announced, okay? Because when they first do that, initially nobody's gonna care.
CMLL showcase match for the Luchadors, like do something like that.
Yeah, but not everybody watches CMLL. DJ.
So that's why you promote it more. That's why that's where the structure.
Not everybody has time to. So if like people are accustomed to tuning into Dynamite on their Wednesday evening, and they get an announcement for a match of 2 guys they don't have any prior beef, they're going, okay, well, why is this happening? Then the next 2 or 3 weeks, Have them bump into shoulders in the hallway even. I mean, just something dumb, just something to get us visually, okay, these two are about to go at it at the pay-per-view. It doesn't need to be a long built, what's the beef between these two guys. But also don't use the pay-per-view as the vehicle to start a feud either. I don't want to see two guys start a feud in a pay-per-view match. That's taken away from two people that probably have a feud that could be on the card. Like, this could have been a pre-show match. This could have been a fucking Dynamite match.
Yeah. This could have been a pre-show match. This would have made the
This
pre-show.
could have been just left off the card. We could have had one less match to have to go through in a night. Like, we don't need 11 matches on the card. We don't need the pay-per-view to end at 12:30 a.m.
Well, technically ended at 12. And this next match was one of the reasons why. Darby Allin and Brody King. This is another one. Again, pieced together within 2 weeks. Very good match.
This match is fucking... I knew this match was going to be psycho, bro.
Yeah. And again, 12 minutes. They did a lot in 12 minutes.
That match was only 12 minutes long, really?
Yeah, it was only 12 minutes long.
I felt like that match was a long match.
What?
I felt like that it was a long match. I felt like it was way longer than 12 minutes.
Yeah, it was only 12. 12 and a half, strictly. But, yeah, again, this was a good match. Same thing as the previous match, but where is the substance? That's what I mean. It's like, oh, yeah, Darby Allin just wants a match, so Brody King's going to get a match with him. I would much rather have seen Malachi in there, to be fair. But, again, Brody King's awesome. He's definitely up there as one of the most underrated talents in the company.
Brody King is crazy.
Yeah, Brody just manhandled Darby. This was nuts right here. Brody King placed the steps onto Darby Allin and walked up the steps. He walked up the steps with Darby underneath him and stomped on the steps. Like Darby Allin, I don't know if he's the guy that's coming up with these spots or not, but dude, you couldn't fucking pay me to take that shit. So then Brody King hit the snake eyes on the steps to Darby. Darby with 2 tope suicidas and a coffin drop off the top to the floor. Back in the ring, Darby was dropped on the apron in a piggyback position by Brody. Darby kept on getting up. Brody with the chops. 2 avalanche German suplexes. I thought Darby Allin may have rolled right on his neck and broke his neck. That looked fucking nasty, and I mean nasty, man. The fucking the avalanche German suplexes, very, very nasty right there. Darby then shoved Brody King off the top. He landed back first on the steel steps, which were on the side, by the way. And then Darby, like the fucking maniac that he is, delivers a coffin drop off the top rope onto Brody while Brody's still on the steps, slanted on the side. Darby gets back into the ring. Brody King slides back in. Coffin drop by Darby. And for the first time ever, Darby Allin finally pins Brody King. And that was that. Listen, I'm glad that Darby got a nice bounce back win right there. But I don't know, man. It's just very, very difficult when shit like that is just pieced together so goddamn quickly to a point where we don't even have the ability to digest, well, why are these guys even fighting? It's no reason other than the fact that, hey, Darby Allin wants a match, and here you go, you're going to get a match. That's the one thing that I'm always going to revert back to. We need substance and reason, and we didn't get any substance and reason. We got another very good match, but if anything, I would have taken this match off the show too.
Why was Darby Allin fighting Brody King?
Because he wanted a match and Brody King answered the challenge. That's pretty much it.
That's ridiculous. So to your point, yes, this could have been totally left off the show. 4 of these matches could have been left off the show. 2 of them could have been put on the pre-show. We could have had like a 7-match card. No problem.
Or an 8-match card. 7 to 8 matches. That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, 7, 8. 8 tops if you must.
I mean, All Out. That was perfectly laid out. All Out was that show flowed beautifully. Now,
since we got the match anyways, and we're talking about it, that spot that Brody King took on the steps.
Oh, dude.
Off of the rope. Was it over the rope or off the second rope?
It was off the second rope, and he landed on the steel steps, slanted.
At some point, I feel like in the last couple of years, they're utilizing these steps for spots like that a lot more than they used to. They used to like throw wrestlers, do an Irish whip into the side of the steps all the time, or set it sideways and, like, you know, power slam somebody flat back onto the flat part of the steps. But these spots they're doing recently, I'm like, at some point, like that Drew McIntyre spot at Bad Blood where he goes to do the Claymore and misses CM Punk and he lands his kidneys on the edge of the steps like that. At some point, someone is going to gash open their lower extremities on a corner of one of these staircases. Are they not? I'm like, if you don't land flat and perfectly right how you're supposed to in that spot, that shit is going to pierce through you.
Dude, it's gonna
And Brody
have to
King,
happen. It's going
there's a
to
lot to
happen at
pierce
some
through
point.
on Brody King. You know what I mean? A lighter guy might be able to hit it and slide off a little bit easier. That guy is for sure going to get impaled if he don't land completely flat right on the
Holy
sweet spot of
shit,
the
dude.
step.
I swear to God, man. I swear to God.
But the fact that he'll
Something's
put
gonna
his
happen.
body through that, like, I respect the fuck out of Brody King, man.
Something is gonna happen, man.
He's a
Something will
brutal
happen.
dude. He's another guy where you just look at and you're like, no, I will have no parts of you whatsoever. Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
He got back up though. He finished the match.
I'm not taking a chop from Brody King. I'm not taking nothing from Brody King, just like Takeshita. And there's no way.
Oh shit, man. But yeah, very good match. It's just again no substance. Young Bucks and Private Party. This was for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Dude, I'm not bullshitting you. This match had the wrong outcome. This match had the wrong outcome. I would have absolutely given Private Party the tag team titles. Dude, the crowd was ready for a title change. The crowd was absolutely ready for it.
Been ready for a title change.
Yeah, they were begging for it. They just had everything laid out so perfectly, and everyone wanted the title change. I understand they may go with the Outrunners. But dude, Private Party, they've been there for 5 years. They deserve so much better.
They just haven't done anything recently this year worth winning titles over, in my opinion.
I know. But
that's not necessarily, obviously, their fault. That's a creative and a
yeah.
booking issue. I'm not blaming Private Party. It's just the outcome. I don't know. I feel like I've been very confused all year long as to where this shit with the Bucks is going, right?
It's not going anywhere.
I feel like last night, for whatever reason, the outcome of this match made a little light bulb. I don't remember what triggered this light bulb in my head. After the match was over, I got a little light bulb where I think they might be going with this Young Bucks thing, and I could be completely, way in left field with it. But, just when it comes to the whole Shane McMahon, supposedly
it's going to be Shane that's going to join up with him.
No. I'm just saying you hear the rumors that you saw the Bucks tease with that picture of Shane McMahon, right?
Yeah.
And how there's been speculation for the last few months. I know some other content creators have been speculating that they expect Shane McMahon to join AEW, which I don't agree with whatsoever. Nor do I think it would be beneficial for AEW to even align themselves with the McMahon at this point. But so my theory is to counter those rumors. I don't think that it is Shane McMahon that's coming into the company. But that being said, I'm like, what is Jon Moxley talking about? So when we get to that point in the review, then I'll bring this back up again.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, dude, I would have absolutely gone with Private Party winning the titles here. It just felt right. Like the way that it started and how like no one cared, but as the match went on, Private Party started to gain more and more fanfare. It almost reminded me a little bit of what happened with the Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory back at All Out in 2022. That's honest to God what it felt like. So I'm watching this and I'm like, shit, these guys are wrestling their asses off. The Bucks, now I'll give credit where credit is due to the Bucks because, the Bucks, they're starting to find their groove. They're starting to find their groove in their third reign. Like the last 3 title defenses that they had, the match with Claudio and Yuta, very good. The match with Ospreay and Fletcher, fantastic. The match here, great match. But outside of the wrestling aspect, it doesn't feel like they're getting anywhere near to what they were in 2021. Like we saw glimpses of 2021 Young Bucks, but just the overall aspect of it, The Young Bucks, they may be in the same position as Jericho right now, dude. I think they just need an extended break. They just they just need to take some time, 3 months.
Well, and that tag team division has been completely decimated in AEW.
I know. And here's the thing, they
went from having like I was telling you earlier, the backbone of that company. I felt like they were built off of a superior tag team division, and it is not even hardly a shell of its former self in just a couple of years' time. Is crazy. It's crazy. Like you have Santana and Ortiz split. You have the Lucha Brothers gone. You have or being held through their contracts. Just so many teams are just going through my mind right now. Even the Young Bucks, like you said, where they were at. The tag team division is a shell of its former self, and the Bucks just seem to be running rampant with this with Jericho-sized egos right now, and I don't like a lot of what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think it's coming across to a lot of fans the way they think that it is. And
they need a break, dude. They need a break.
They could stand a break.
At least 3 months, at least.
We definitely need title changes, but I feel like I understand now. Like I said, the direction they might be going in, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the main event.
But the match was very good. Like I said, we did see a lot of glimpses of 2021 Young Bucks here. Hurricane Rana's to the floor, spinning tornillos off the top, cutters, swantons. Quinn was isolated. Isaiah Cassidy got the tag. Nice moonsault on Nicholas Jackson. The diving foot stomp connects Hurricane Rana into a cutter by Zay. Springboard facebuster. Nicholas with the twisting plancha, the escalera as they call it. Moonsault off the barricade into the crowd. Poison Rana on the floor to Matthew, Canadian Destroyer. Quinn with a 450 off of the barricade, which looked fantastic, by the way. Zay and Nicholas, they traded blows back and forth and back and forth. Avalanche cutter off the top by Nicholas. Roll up by Cassidy for a 2. Blockbuster DDT combo. Gin and juice. I actually thought they had it there, but Matthew kicked out. Crowd was chanting private party. So now I'm thinking to myself, all right, now we're getting somewhere. They're getting behind him. I think it's time for a title change. So we had double super kicks by Matthew and Nicholas. More bang for your buck by Private Party, but Matthew kicked out. Drop kick to Zay. He inadvertently hit a Poison Rana on Quinn. Drop kick senton combo. EVP trigger on Cassidy. Cover. 1, 2. Cassidy kicked out. Big pop by the crowd off the kick out. So I thought to myself, I mean, come on, they got to win the titles now. So afterwards, they took out Isaiah Cassidy's partner, Mark Quinn. He was taken out on the outside. Isaiah Cassidy with a cradle for a 2. Matthew kicked out. All of a sudden, we had the TK driver. 1, 2, 3. And the Bucks retain the tag team championships in what was a great match. Definitely one of the Bucks' best matches of the year. Like I said, they found their groove. They did. They found their groove, and they definitely have a certain. They got a nice hefty amount of matches built up under their wing for the third reign, and I'm glad that they do. But dude, I'm telling you again, it's just not clicking. The characters, the whole gimmick, it's just not clicking. And at this stage of the game, we're going to have to take the titles off the Bucks. They got a tag team division down there. They do. They have a tag team division down there, or in AEW specifically, that can hold it down if they actually put some effort into it. I mean, you got Private Party, you got the Outrunners, you got the Dark Order, you got the Undisputed Kingdom, you got the Premier Athletes, you got the Grizzled Young Veterans, you got FTR in there. I think I already said Private Party, but yeah, they're in there. Iron Savages, I do believe I mentioned. They got plenty of teams, man. They do. They got Moxley's new faction as well. They got the House of Black. They got the Guns. They got the Acclaim. They got MXM Collection. They got a division, man. They got a division.
Outrunners.
I mentioned the Outrunners. They got a division. But they don't have the structure like they did. That's why we need the rankings back. But man, I'm very, very disappointed that we did not get a title change. That was the moment right there, man. That was the moment for Private Party, and I don't think that they're going to get another moment like that again. And even with the tease that they may be pairing them with Stokely Hathaway, why do we need them as heels? Private Party is better as baby faces. Seriously,
it'll probably be another 3 years before we see them on a pay-per-view title match again.
I hope not, man. I really do hope that they do gain some steam because they deserve better than this. Great match, though. Great match. Do you want to add anything before we get into the last two matches, which were the two world titles?
No, because what I want to say, pertains to kind of what's going on in the main event scene as well, which I will tie in back to the Young Bucks at some point.
Yeah. So. Well, we did have a Ring of Honor World Championship match on the show. It was Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho. Hi, guys.
And bye, guys. Bye, guys.
Thanks, hologram. This was the learning tree. I am the learning tree. Chris Jericho.
Burn this tree down, please. Set this tree on fire. Please. Can we turn this tree into firewood, please?
Very cool. Its theme song's very good. I'll tell you this.
Theme song is very good. Well, are you okay?
No. I actually like Fozzy. I like Fozzy.
Wait, that's a Fozzy song?
Yes, it's called Spotlight by Fozzy. Go listen to it.
That's a Fozzy song.
Yes, it's called Spotlight. Listen to it.
I thought it was like a generic creator wrestler music, like Tony Khan's been giving everybody lately.
Lyrics to it. It's not just a dan. It's not just an.
I heard no lyrics. I heard generic WCW 1998 intro music. That's what I heard.
Go and listen to Spotlight. It's actually a decent song. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh boy, Rafa. Thanks for joining the stream, buddy. I have no idea what language you're speaking, my guy.
I have no idea. Some sort of discombobulated Indian and English language. I don't know. No offense. I just don't understand you, bro. But the match itself, again, this wasn't a bad match. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, yeah, this match was shit. It wasn't. The crowd was into it down the home stretch. We did have some nice back and forth counters. Jericho and Mark Briscoe, they matched up decently together. But again, the whole issue with the learning tree gimmick is the fact that it's just it's not even like it's a funny, disingenuous character. It's doing more for Brian Keith and Big Bill more so than it's doing for Chris Jericho.
Well, last night it did nothing for anybody involved.
No. Well, it did something for Briscoe. It did give Briscoe a big win, and Briscoe's obviously getting TV time, which is a good thing. But outside of that, I mean, it didn't really do anything. Very good match, though. I mean, it wasn't shit. It was a very good match. There weren't any botches. There weren't any fuck-ups. And we did get a nice near fall in the end. I actually thought Jericho may have won the title off that J Driller. I was a little fearful. But thankfully, Mark Briscoe kicked out. The spot with Briscoe doing a Tope Con Hero into the table, that was nice. And ultimately, Mark Briscoe, he hulked himself up. Which, by the way, I'll tell you this. It is very, very hilarious to always point out when Mark Briscoe, he always does those yells right before he does the chop. He does like a hillbilly squeal right before he delivers a throat thrust. I don't know why.
Redneck Kung Fu.
It's the Redneck Kung Fu. Yeah. Redneck Kung Fu. It's great.
Because he used to have that T-shirt with like the big old rooster on it. So it's supposed to be like a rooster call or some shit, I think. I don't know.
It's great. But in the end, we did get a great spot here where Jericho delivered a code breaker in midair. That was probably one of the smoothest midair code breakers that I've seen in a while. I'm not going to lie. Usually the midair code breakers don't really look that smooth. This one looked rather smooth. So they timed it very, very well. But Briscoe kicked out. And then Jericho hit the Judas effect. Chris smiled like a disingenuous asshole, hit the J Driller, and he looked right into the camera and just smiled. Like, I feel like he did that on purpose. I know he did that shit on purpose. Looked right into the camera, smiled. 1-2, Briscoe kicked out, crowd popped. Briscoe, he was firing himself up. Briscoe with the redneck kung fu, the machine gun chops, rolling Death Valley driver, Froggy Bow, and then the J Driller on the money, by the way. And Mark Briscoe wins a very good match, better than all of Jericho's matches with Hook. Not even bullshitting you. This one match was better than all of Jericho's matches with Hook. I don't know what it was, but the Hook feud, that was probably the worst feud of the year by far.
Well, you can kind of let your body go a little bit when you're in the ring with someone like a Mark Briscoe because he's a veteran and the chemistry that they have from years of knowing each other. Whereas when you wrestle Hook, Jericho's probably wrestling more safe, and he's thinking in his mind, okay, this is the son of Taz. I gotta make sure I don't injure this kid. Whereas he's not probably just putting all the thoughts out of his mind and just going with the flow and wrestling like he's normally accustomed to.
Well, either way, I mean, credit to him. Like he definitely brought it here against Mark Briscoe, and he did the right thing. Mark Briscoe wins, as he should. And just like the Young Bucks, dude, we need a break from Jericho. We need a break, and he needs to take some time off of TV. He should take the rest of the year off TV.
Jericho should take the rest of
the year,
his life off. He needs to retire. We're done with Jericho. He's given us all he can give us. We do not need a 19th gimmick change from Jericho. These are getting silly.
Not unlike the Learning Tree.
These are getting silly. He is clearly just desperately trying to remain relevant enough to keep in Tony Khan's ear to stay at the top of the cards. The placement of this match as the co-main event was absolutely egregious. I saw a lot of hypocrisy in the IWC yesterday when everybody on a weekly basis bitches and moans about ROH talent being taking up spots on AEW TV. What are we doing with ROH? Why aren't they their own separate thing? Why are we having their champions on AEW TV when it takes away from people that could be getting built under the AEW banner? They're there actively wrestling. We don't see a weekly ROH show. They have pay-per-views once every 3 months. I get it's Jay Briscoe. Like, I totally get that. Mark Briscoe. I get that it's a Briscoe brother. But put him on the AEW roster. Why is he walking around with the ROH title, doing nothing with it for 3 months at a time?
They don't have any plans for him on AEW TV. They're just featuring.
Well, they don't do anything for 3 months at a time with the ROH. So it's why even come out with us?
That's why they should.
Like, have Mark Briscoe come out for the match, fine, but don't announce that he's the ROH champion. Don't show the ROH belt if it's an AEW pay-per-view and you're not having a pay-per-view for 90 fucking days.
It's more like 150 days. But no Nueve. No Nueve. We do not have the Nueve. Ironically, the last time that Jericho actually felt intriguing was when he was Ring of Honor World Champion. Ironically.
Say again?
Ironically, the last time that Jericho felt intriguing was when he was Ring of Honor World Champion.
Is that when he was the Painmaker?
No, that's when he was the Ocho.
Oh, the Ocho. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
The Ocho, I was okay with the Ocho. This is
Ocho now,
it's now getting silly. It's just getting silly. Like the Learning Tree, like, come on.
You know what he is? He's pretty much the unpopular version of Jey Uso, because Jey Uso got over based off of a catchphrase, yeet. And now
Did you ever used to watch the Taz show?
The Taz show. When was that?
When Taz had a podcast.
Oh, Taz had a podcast? Oh, yeah.
He did a podcast on Facebook Live back in the day, and he used to always reference coming up in the business being under the Learning Tree. So I feel like the gimmick of Jericho calling himself the Learning Tree was specifically done for his feud with Hook. Now that this feud is over, I feel like we need to desperately drop the learning tree shit immediately. Immediately. Especially if Jericho's going to remain and is not going to go away. The learning tree shit is cringe. Again, I know it's Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho, but this had no business being co-main event. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a Ring of Honor title.
At
Right
least
outcome,
okay.
correct. I was deathly afraid. I thought when I realized that match was
driller,
co-main
man,
event,
driller.
I'm like, Jericho co-main event for the ROH title. I'm like, for sure Jericho's going to win this goddamn title again because he's already had it one time, right? So I'm like, of course he's winning. So I was actually shocked that Mark won because I was convinced Jericho was winning that belt for whatever reason, just because it's Jericho. And I feel like at this point, his ego knows no bounds.
That was a bit of a rough one, I know.
But that being said, this had no business on the show. I'm sorry.
But yeah,
Jericho's got to be on the mat in the match, right? It's fucking Jericho, so.
Yeah, Jericho's absolutely the unpopular version of Jey Uso because Jericho, the only thing that Jericho has is the catchphrase, "Hi, guys."
And I've also heard Pacific Northwest crowds pop much louder for a Briscoe than they did last night. And I honestly felt like the reason for that was because the building let a collective sigh of disappointment when Chris Jericho came out in the co-main event. It was like, what are we doing? We paid this. I don't care if it was $300 cheaper than Bad Blood. Like if you're paying $400 or $500 for a ticket last night, you're not paying for Jericho to come out as the co-main event in 2024. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Jericho loses. Good match again, but again, the learning tree shit. It's got to go away. Got to go away. All right, let's talk about the main event, then we can get on out of here. We've been talking for over 2 hours now. Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Moxley went right after Bryan, and the song was still going. I thought that was actually pretty funny. I don't know why I laughed, but I laughed.
I was That's funny that you say that because I too was like, I mean, it took me a minute to realize, and I was like, wait a second, Final Countdown. They didn't get in the ring, so the song's just still going. Did it to trumpets blaring and everything. They're just whooping the fuck out of each other.
You know what was funny? What was so funny about it is Bryan. He ran across the floor when you heard. Oh my god, who's the fucking main singer? Who's the main singer of Europe? The lead singer of Europe, and he was doing the and Bryan ran across the floor during the during that part of the song, and I was taking notes on that. I'm like, this, I don't know why, but that's fucking hilarious. But
no, it did. It felt like anarchy in the arena.
But it didn't stay that way because we weren't laughing as the match went on because Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. They were beating the shit out of each other. The crowd was electric here. Bryan with the springboard cannonballs. Moxley with a pile driver on the Spanish announce table. Crowd was chanting, "Fuck you, Moxley," which was great. Bryan bit down on Moxley's head. He delivered the yes kicks and the Spider German. Curb stomp by Moxley. Bryan kicked out. Pile driver by Bryan. Both men traded blows. We had a flying lariat and a roundhouse kick to the head. Cutter by Moxley. Bryce Remsburg threw Marina Shafir out, so she was gone. And I'm actually liking Marina Shafir in this new role. This is probably the best that Marina Shafir has looked throughout her entire wrestling career. Busaiku knee by Bryan. Moxley kicked out. Bryan kicked Moxley's head in. We had a label lock. Moxley got to the ropes. Tope suicida, but Moxley caught him into a Death Rider on the concrete, which looked absolutely brutal. I don't care how safe it may be in certain cases. You would never be able to pay me enough to take that bump on the concrete. So back in the ring, Moxley covered, Bryan kicked out. We had a triangle lock again, Busaiku knee again, Moxley kicked out, Death Rider again, Bryan kicked out. Another Death Rider. Bryan kicked out at 1. The crowd popped. Moxley pretty much said, all right, fuck this. I'm done with this guy. Gotch-style pile driver. And then a bulldog choke. But Bryan couldn't hang on. He faded. The referee called for the bell. I was kind of shocked that Moxley won. But at the same point in time, with all the talking that Moxley's been doing, he kind of had to win. Moxley kind of had to win this. And ultimately, this was the end of the line for Bryan. It was the final countdown for Bryan. And not only that, so Claudio bagged the championship. He put the championship in a black bag, took out a plastic bag, gave it to Moxley. And before Moxley could even do anything, out came Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta. And Wheeler Yuta out of nowhere with a Busaiku knee to Darby Allin. Wheeler Yuta took the plastic bag and suffocated Bryan Danielson in the plastic bag, which was fucking great. And afterwards, we had all these people from the locker room. We had Private Party. We had Jeff Jarrett. We had Orange Cassidy. We had all these security guards, and they were just taking them out one by one by one by one. It genuinely felt like it was a hostile takeover. It genuinely felt like it was a hostile takeover. And now it feels like, all right, it seems as though we're going to see Jon Moxley's faction wreak havoc for all these months. And ultimately, they seem to be planting Darby Allin as the guy because he lost to Jon Moxley at Grand Slam. He came out to help Bryan Danielson at the end of the show. It seems as though Darby, he's going to be the guy that's going to be built up over the course of the next several months, probably going into All In. And he's going to be the guy to beat Jon Moxley in a similar fashion in which Sting came back and beat Hulk Hogan and won the WCW championship, although it's going to be a lot better than Starrcade 1997, I'll tell you that much. Regardless, Moxley's posse, they went and left. They left through the crowd as Wheeler Yuta's flipping off the crowd, and they had to carry away Bryan Danielson on a stretcher as the crowd chanted, "Thank you, Bryan," and that is how the show went off the air. Excellent main event. And the ending angle, very well played out. Looks like we got ourselves the first genuine sign of, holy shit, looks like Moxley's faction, they ain't no one to mess with. And they're all champions, minus Marina Shafir. So looks like they're going to be running the company now, because Moxley did say this is not your company anymore.
Whose company is it?
Shane McMahon. The only guy that I can think about. I thought we were going to see Shane here. I thought we were going to see Shane.
Did you?
What else? What else could it be? Is he
Not
working with
blatantly
the
obvious?
Bucks?
Why, in the midst of his father about to go to trial for being a sex trafficker, why would Shane McMahon, this does not make any logical sense whatsoever for him to join AEW.
So then who's the higher power behind Jon Moxley?
Whose company is it?
What?
Whose company is it?
I don't know whose company it is. It seems like it's Jon Moxley.
I mean, he's alluding to somebody, right? And then they put the title in the bag like it's like they weren't even there to win the title. Like that's an afterthought. So the title means nothing to them. So they're clearly taking the title to whoever it is they're talking about, right?
Who is it?
Well, who's just been running roughshod over the company all year long, just doing whatever they fucking feel like and booking matches however they fucking feel like. And who's been at every fucking show, and who's every week I hear content creators going, "Where's the owner of the company? He's there backstage in gorilla position. What the fuck? Why isn't he doing anything about it?" Well,
you're telling me that Tony Khan is the orchestrator here?
I think we're going to see Tony McMahon.
Not a chance.
I do.
Not a shot. If that is the case, if that is the case, then yeah, I'm telling you, there's going to be so many people that are going to be turned off by this.
I think that sometimes in pro wrestling, shit is so blatantly obvious that it's not obvious. And I feel like last night I'm watching I'm watching the Bucks in Private Party, and I don't know what it was about that match, and I did not have this idea in my brain at any time prior to this match last night, and just a little light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, who is this dude that they're talking about? And I thought, well, the Bucks have been like, who's going to stop the Bucks? Like, they have been on this ego trip, this never-ending ego trip for so fucking long. Who else can it be? Shane McMahon doesn't make any kind of sense. Shane McMahon on AEW TV.
That actually makes the most sense for Moxley. I don't understand why it wouldn't be Shane, because
A McMahon, Dean Ambrose and the McMahons, like, there's no way. None of that makes sense to me. And I'm shocked at the amount of people that all think that this is all leading to Shane McMahon. If this does lead to Shane McMahon, I will for sure 100% gladly eat my bowl of crow for as long as it takes, because to me, I'm literally shocked, and like my mind is blown that so many people think that this is leading to a road down the.
if it's not Shane McMahon, then like I don't understand why this is even playing out. Unless they have another major figure that they're going to bring in, but I don't know who.
I think Tony Khan is dying to be a character.
God, I fucking hope not. That would be fucking terrible.
Greek Savage in the chat. Adam Cole looks hungry.
Great Savage, of course.
Sorry.
I had a feeling that we would see Savage at some point. We'll see him at Battle in the Burrow next week. He'll be on the call. He'll also be managing Papa Don.
Nice.
He's a good guy. Shout out to Savage.
He's not wrong. Adam Cole did look he looks sickly. I hope he's okay.
Well, we'll see what happens, but
because I feel like last time we saw him, he said he was okay, and then we didn't see him again until last night. So I feel like AEW has a handful of talent where they want to do something with him, and they bring him back just like they did with Miro. Miro was gone for forever. He showed up randomly in something one night, and then haven't seen him since. And it's like, why do they do that? I don't really know.
I don't know,
man. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case, but I just great for Adam Cole being back. I just don't. We've been there, done that. I mean, that was like last year, 10 months ago. Adam Cole and MJF, like, yeah, some things have gone on past its point, like too long, where just go on to something else.
I don't know. I honest to God don't know, but Shane still seems like the only logical answer.
There was just something in the main event that was lacking for me in terms of, like, it was a good match. I love Moxley, and everybody was shitting on Moxley last night. That was
Moxley's best match all year. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I have been saying that my AEW Day One pillar above these kids like Perry and MJF is John fucking Moxley. True. He has been the workhorse. He was a workhorse in WWE. He just did not get no respect from anybody backstage. So
no, absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not.
He has been, I don't know. He rubs people the wrong way for whatever reason, but I really dig John Moxley, and that match last night was a decent match. I just feel like in terms of the ending, kind of just drug on a little bit, and it was kind of just like the crowd is like, okay, here we go. We're about to watch, our beloved hero get,
If anything, it should have been referee stoppage because he was delivering so many Death Riders. That's what I would have done.
Right.
That's what I would have done. And then I would have had the referee just stop the match that way.
And I don't know if it was on my end or what, but I felt like my feed cut off abruptly and the show just ended. Like I didn't see an ending graphic or nothing. It was just it just the show was over and it went to like some TV show or something out of nowhere, and I was like, what happened? So I tried to refresh the feed and it was like just completely gone. But so I
Yeah.
was very thrown off by that, and I felt like the crowd was just kind of also left with kind of just like I guess this is it for Daniel Bryan then.
I think this is it for his full-time career, but the main event was excellent, as many people would expect. Easily John Moxley's best match all year. Now we're starting to see, that 2020, 2021 version of John Moxley, maybe even 2022, because John Moxley had a great year in 2022.
Yeah, I was not a fan of Blackpool Combat Club Moxley.
The 2023 John Moxley, minus his feud with Hangman, the 2023 John Moxley, it didn't really hit like it really
I like
should have.
solo John Moxley, like Rogue, like Badass, like what's the Marvel guy? The fucking motorcycle dude with the flaming skull head.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, yeah. Ghost Rider John Moxley. I like
Good
him.
movie, by the way. Good movie, Ghost Rider. I think I might watch it.
That's who solo John Moxley's character reminds me of, is Ghost Rider.
We'll have to see what happens, but I mean, listen, overall, it was a very good show. Just way too loaded with a bunch of matches that were pieced together way too quickly. Not enough substance, and above all else, like not enough reason behind some of these matches. But Moxley, he kind of had to win. So now, oh, by the way, I did read a report that Bryan actually wanted to lose to John Moxley. He wanted his run to end with John Moxley. That's what I read from Fightful. He wanted it to end with John Moxley.
So that being said, you can't really argue that, because clearly that had some aspect of why we got what we got last night. And I know, like, again, everybody was shitting on Moxley on social media from like the chat rooms I was in, the tweets I was seeing. I don't know what everybody's problem with John Moxley is. The fact that I guess he can be gone for a while and come back and just get slotted at the top. But again, like your point, I mean, Bryan Danielson obviously clearly wanted to put Moxley over on his way out. So how can you argue that? It might not be what we would have picked or what we wanted to see, but
and by the way, the third best member of the Shield is Roman Reigns. Go argue with the wall.
Wait, what?
No, I was just giving it to Savage. The third best member of the Shield is Roman Reigns. Moxley or Seth, they're fighting for number one.
Oh.
Just letting you know. Fuck Roman Reigns.
In terms of wrestling in ring, you're not wrong there. And I love Roman Reigns, but you're not wrong.
He's a good wrestler, but like, let's be honest.
Yeah, he is.
If the machine wasn't behind him, he would be a mid-carder.
But I mean, Rollins and Moxley, if you're having a technical, that's like putting Stone Cold in the ring with Bret Hart.
In a sense, yeah, I would say so. But
if you're talking about mat wrestling, you're gonna get out wrestled if you're Stone Cold every time. I'm sorry, you just are.
Dude, I'm still kind of pissed that Rollins didn't go to AEW. Imagine the feud that Rollins and Moxley could have had in AEW. My God. That would have been fucking great. But regardless, I mean, listen, it was a good show. Good show. I'm glad that we got a lot of substance coming out of the show.
See, I felt it was like a mid-show, DJ, but talking to you prior to going live, it kind of dawned on me why, because I don't watch the weekly product. And if I do, it's just whatever I can stand of Dynamite. I don't have patience, the time, the wherewithal. If they were going to book shows like NXT booked their shows back in the day, then fine, I'll go out of my way to watch it. That's no problem. But the Collision and Rampage are completely missable shows. But if you don't watch them, you don't understand a lot of why you see what you're seeing on a pay-per-view in AEW. So no wonder so many people shit on AEW now, because they're not obviously watching every show that AEW does weekly.
And it's hard to watch when they don't have a sense of structure and they're just disorganized and all over the place. And this goes back to everything that we've been saying. And, we could say it until the cows come home. It's all about if Tony Khan really wants to delegate responsibilities. But, I said that, Tony Khan is falling into the same level of complacency that WWE fell into. And now all they're doing is just it's like they're just coasting through the fall season now because, hey, Tony Khan got his money, and WWE, they got a $5 billion Netflix deal.
Last year's inaugural WrestleDream was one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year last year.
Yeah.
And it had me going into 2024 saying, when Tony Khan even announced WrestleDream last year, and I thought, oh, this is going to be an annual thing. I'm for sure not missing WrestleDream next year. And by the time we got to, I would say, Dynasty, I knew I wasn't about to waste my money going to WrestleDream this year because I knew they were going to go away from Swerve and Hangman. And I'm sorry, not Swerve and Hangman. I knew they were going to go away from Swerve and Danielson. And I felt like Swerve in a match with Danielson in Tacoma, both hometown boys, for Bryan Danielson's retirement match. Because you can retire and you can like go out the way you want to go out, but I also feel like you've got to respect the business on your way out too. And I felt like to leave the business in a better place on your way out than when you were in it would have been for Swerve and Danielson to fight for that title last night at WrestleDream.
Yeah.
And when I knew we weren't getting it, all desire to go to that show left my body. Whoa, I just dropped my chair.
That's fine. But yeah, I really do hope that Tony Khan he gets, because here's the thing, you could get a lot of disorganized weekly shows, but when that starts bleeding into the pay-per-views and you're just throwing shit together just for the sake of it, then it's obviously going to take into an effect. But it was a very, very, very good show for what it was. But clear as day,
there was great wrestling on the show. Yeah.
All In was better in terms of the wrestling aspect. All Out was also better. That was well paced. Dynasty and Revolution, those two may be the top two shows of the year. Dynasty especially. Dynasty was perfectly laid out. Everything about Dynasty was just laid out so well to a point where it's almost like, man, you couldn't have gotten any better than that. Everything about Dynasty, from the match placement to the winners, the outcomes, everything. We had that ladder match with the Bucks and FTR with Jack Perry returning. Swerve won the world title. Ospreay, Danielson, Malachi was mixing it up with Adam Copeland. Willow Nightingale won the TBS championship, and like all a bunch of other shit, like Okada and Pac. They had a match on that show. Like, dude, that show, it's going to be very hard to top that show this year.
Yeah, yeah, it was a decent show, and there was great wrestling. No knock to the talent at all last night, but I just felt like in terms of importance, in terms of like that there was something missing from it. The AEW show pay-per-views always have there's a feeling to them that just last night just felt lacking to me.
I'm really hoping they get themselves right, because I really do want to see AEW continue to succeed, and I really don't want. And from a quality standpoint, I know they're going to succeed financially; they're never going away. But
I felt like maybe that might have been a factor into it a little bit as well. It's like they just got the hard work is done. We secured the bag. Now we can all collectively breathe a sigh of relief. We can relax a little bit. I hope that's not what they're doing, but
yeah, I really hope not, because, dude, 5 years in, and with all the great material that we've seen, like, you can definitely see a sense of complacency starting to seep in, and that's one thing I'm never going to support. Like, I can't get behind the idea and the mentality of complacency. I'm never going to support that.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that wraps up the rewind for WrestleDream. Another great stream in the books, and I do believe that we've peaked over 100 views for the stream already.
Wow.
And yeah, we just did it. Let me check the exact number. The exact number is 142. So that was great.
Shit.
So it looks like we could be headed down the road to potentially beating out Bad Blood. Bad Blood actually finished up with 218 views at this stage of the game. The rundown for WrestleDream was actually fantastic this past Thursday. That got 238 views. So maybe we could very well beat out those streams. But regardless, Hooligrim, you're fucking great. You are fucking awesome. Thank you very much for stopping on by. Thank you very much for
Thanks for having me 2 weeks in a row, bro. I had
And thank
a
you.
good time with you.
It is a great time always talking pro wrestling. One more time, where can everyone find you on social media?
Right there under my name, on X at Hoolagrim, spelled just like that, and same for TikTok.
Sweet, sweet. Already know the drill, people. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. Get your tickets for Battle in the Borough. And of course, my name's DJ Storms. He's Hoolagrim. This has been The Rewind. But before we get out of here, Hoolagrim, a very important question that all must answer. And you need to make sure that everyone knows the drill here. Hoolagrim, who runs the
Attention,
IWC?
please. Attention, please. None other than DJ motherfucking Storms.
Oh, you damn right, baby. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms. And I'll be seeing you guys on Saturday for history when I present Battle in the Borough.
Shout out to the chat.
Yep, shout out to the chat.
Retribution! Oh yeah, we want retribution! Oh yeah, we want retribution!